My name's Nick. I go by Endpen in game, and I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. I didn't realize I was very competitive until I started competing in Fortnite, and now I can never play casually. I just always want to be the best. I think my mentality is one thing I'm proud of. It's one thing that I think that I've gotten a lot better with. That's why I think going into day 2 of this recent grand finals, we were in 36th place after day 1. We weren't doing too hot off spawn. We had landed in a new spot that we didn't know too well. And we went into day 2 and I kept my head up and we finished second day 2 and 13th overall. I know that even if I do bad, I can always bounce back from it. And so that's why if I go in an end game without the best loot, one refresh can change your game. One elimination or one team wipe and your whole game's turn around and you could, win the game. I'm feeling super excited going into FNCS Major 2, and I'm excited to qualify for the Global Championship. I'm gonna dominate off spawn, which I struggled in last FNCS Major. I'm gonna make sure I work hard on that, and then I'm gonna show them that I know how to, correctly play for Surge, play my mid game rotates well, and once I make it to end game, we're gonna pop off. I think that making the Global Championship at the end of the year is probably my biggest goal overall. After being a backup player at the Invitational, that kind of opened my eyes and seeing that, I really wanted to compete in front of everybody. And I think that's the coolest thing out of all this, the whole gaming aspect is being able to compete in person at a LAN, with your family and friends watching. So that's my main goal right now, and that's why I've put so much time into trying to make that come true. Right now, I don't know if I have anything that would be I quit the game right now. People are gonna be like, oh, Endpen, I remember him. He played, he was professional, he made a lot of grand finals, but there was nothing too crazy that he ever did. So that's what I'm working towards, is just having some type of moment that people would remember me by.
This is the weekend we've all been waiting for. The NA FNCS Major 2 Grand Finals will kick off this weekend. And with a stacked lobby of the 50 best teams battling across 12 games, this will be a weekend to remember. Major 1 champions Acorn and Cold are not planning on giving up their title anytime soon. Keeping their performance sky high with winning both the weekly qualifiers of weeks 1 and 3 and an additional cash cup, these guys are in the best shape of their lives. Now, they just gotta make it last throughout the weekend. But can they keep the momentum going? Another duo that wants in on the success is Booga and Threats. A duo formed this season is here to ensure their spot for the Global Championship and the FNCS title of Major 2. Booga is well known for his multiple titles, however, Threats is looking to add his first to his belt. This might just be their weekend. Lastly, we'll see Kanata and Agers battling it out for a top spot. Kanata has been present in every single FNCS Grand Finals throughout history. However, he has still not managed to secure the title. Not yet, that is. These two Titans will make sure they are not leaving empty-handed. The battle bus is fueled up as we head into a weekend we won't forget anytime soon. With the first crowning of the combined NA FNCS champion and the spots up for grabs for the Global Championship, everyone has something to fight for. Welcome to the NA FNCS Major 2 Grand Finals.
What's going on, Fortnite fam? Welcome back to the FNCS. This is the FNCS Grand Finals for North America. We watched EU take the stage, but now, of course, NA steps up. Now, in case you guys missed it, Ranked is coming to Fortnite May 16th. That's right, Ranked starts at Bronze and goes all the way up to Unreal. You'll be able to battle your way by earning eliminations and placements, and there's even rewards to be earned via challenges. If you want to know more, go ahead and head on over to fn.gg/ranked. Adam talked about it on EU, but I wanted to make sure you guys heard about it as well, because it is crazy. Now, of course, we have to turn attention back here and now. The North America FNCS Grand Finals. We have two separate duos looking to defend their title. Bolts Thoric from NA West. Acorn Cold from NA East, but remember, we're just North America now. One of them is looking to walk away with that title. How about other duos? Booga, Threats, Reet, Epic Whale. This is going to be one of the greatest weekends of Fortnite we've ever seen. Now I need help breaking us all down because there is so much to talk about. So let me introduce your analysts, Jenny Smiles and Vivid.
Woo! Fortnite fam.
So excited.
Grand Finals. Finally. Zeke, we've been talking about it week after week after week, and
It's here.
we're here.
It's here. Grand Finals. What more could you want? Guys, there's so much happening. All of this weekend, 6 games today, another 6 matches tomorrow. Not only are we looking for FNCS champions, there is now 3 spots to globals at the end of the weekend. Where are your guys' hype levels at?
You know, not only all of that going on, we also have to kind of match the hype that EU brought. Queasy and Veno, 4 out of 6 victory royales. Hello, are you guys okay? I'm looking for somebody on NA to hopefully kind of mimic that performance.
I'm thinking I have a name in mind.
Okay.
I'm thinking Acorn and Cold are going to make it happen. I don't know. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Yeah, of course. One of the 2 duos I just kind of highlighted, right? Looking to defend their title. And I think Vivid, Acorn and Cold definitely favorites coming into the competition.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much the sentiment amongst the community for sure. And honestly, you got to give a lot of their credit to the ability of Acorn, the IGL of this powerhouse. And, you know, he's not just an IGL. He didn't just wake up one day and become one of the best. No, it's all about the experience, but we talk about it time and time again. What does experience actually mean in Fortnite? It's playing in these FNCS-style lobbies season after season in different metas without mobility, and that's what Acorn has done. And that's why he has a repertoire able to, you know, just traverse many of these moving zones. I wanted to highlight one of those moments that he actually was able to pull off in one of the week 3 games. As you can see here, we're in one of the moving zones and they're way left, right? They're very, very far away from this zone actually. And in this meta, you could just simply kinetic blade, get yourself right on the edge. But no, Acorn knows how to, make some of these rotates on foot, decides to go right into the center of that zone. And the reason why this is so helpful for him is because, well, there's actually a dead side on this moving zone. Shout out to Zeke for the little bit of the scribbles that he drew there for me. That's going to be that red area, that dead side. They have all of that area pretty much to themselves. Nobody's over there because of how these zones work. And like you mentioned, that repertoire showing right here, able to actually make that rotate on foot in a meta where everybody's using kinetic blades.
Right. No, and again, like you said, the knowledge and skill that Acorn has, but them combined as a duo, Acorn and Cold, we've seen them the last 3 times they've been on broadcast, they've been first overall.
Wow.
They have nothing to like. They've already shown like we have what it takes. I'm just excited to see if they can keep up that pace moving into these games.
And I think it actually plays into them during grand finals, right? We have 4 points per elimination. They're so good at getting eliminations. Not to mention zones 1 through 6, they are 9-0 in fights.
That is a disgusting statistic to bring into grand finals, especially kind of to your point. They've got nothing to prove, right, Jenny? They're already in globals.
All right.
This is almost a free weekend for them. I'm excited to see how they can perform. What about Thork and Bolts on the other side? Talk to me about these champions.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much the storyline. That's the awesome thing is that we have 2 FNCS champions in the same exact lobby, both looking to defend that title.
And honestly, what I kind of think is so cool is that we had to see, Bolts really step up, and he had that solo style where he was just in Surge Week, and they did so good. But again, they did have to go to Surge Week, which I think is very important to point out, Vivid.
Yeah, and that was kind of the crazy thing, right? Like, how do we have one of our FNCS champions not making it through on the series point leaderboard? But of course, they have been stepping up their game. That Surge Week performance, they did get first on the consistency leaderboard. So, as the season has kind of gone further and further, they've just gotten better.
Right, and we'll have to see if that skill translates into these, more skillful lobbies.
Yeah.
To put you guys on the spot here, if we had to isolate both duos and pick one, which one would it be?
Let me think long enough. Acorn and Cold.
Acorn and Cold. Easy.
Apparently not that hard of a decision. No. Well, as always, we are gearing up for the competition. We have given you a little bit of insight, and we'll have more to talk about. But first, why don't we take a step back and talk to one of the players competing here this weekend. It is none other than longtime veteran, Ceice. What is going on, Ceice? It is fantastic to see you, man. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man. I'm feeling great. Good to be here, guys.
That is awesome. Bro, okay, so you're feeling good. You're coming into grand finals. Ceice, recently put out this piece on you, and one of the things that stands out to me about you, is that you're like a longtime veteran, right? And in some ways, some people might look at you and think, well, Ceice still has something to prove. Do you feel like that's the case?
Dude, 100%. I mean, it's been years since the biggest event on the stage in a World Cup. It's like, there's so much to prove for everyone in this entire tournament. Like, this is Fortnite competitive. It's going to continue, and this is the biggest event right now, so it's everyone's main focus.
Yeah, I love the fact that you bring up some of those big name events, right? Those international events. Of course, a couple of those spots to make it to globals are on the line. What would it mean for you to make it to another one of those events?
I mean everything. I mean, that's what I'm putting all of my energy into right now. There's nothing else that's on my mind other than qualifying for the global. So it did mean the world.
Do you believe, like in your heart and soul, do you believe that you have what it takes today and tomorrow to make it happen for globals?
Oh, I've never felt more confident, and I mean that wholeheartedly. The feeling that I had going into World Cup is the exact feeling that I have today. And with my teammate behind me, we're going to do good.
Fantastic. Well, Ceice, where can they find you? Because you are someone that they absolutely should be cheering on.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Ceice on all socials, Ceice. And yeah, see you guys on the battle bus.
Hey, thank you so much, Ceice. Best of luck, and we'll see you in today's games.
Little boot camp, boot camp buff,
I love it.
Ceice is one of the best in the game. If you're not following him, you need to do yourself a favor and go check him out. Now, we have to talk about duos that we think could become international talent, not just here in NA, but exceed and go past that to the global championships. We have to start with Bugha, right? I mean, a name that we could sit here and talk about forever. These guys landing down south of the map. Talk to me about this duo.
Yeah, and that's kind of the highlight that I want to point out. South of the map, there's actually a lot going on down there, and it's actually expected that pretty much half of Bugha and Threats' split drop is meant to be contested for over the weekend. Now, I think that could have big implications to maybe how they will perform at Invitational. That was kind of like a similar situation where some of their drop, some of their loot was getting taken away from them, and as a result, some of the rotations were so hard. So I'm hoping just that little bit of extra prep was put into this weekend, so that way we can see Bugha and Threats at the top of the leaderboard.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I hope that they prep together too, just even to build that chemistry up as a duo, because Bugha, everyone knows the name Bugha. It's Bugha, but both of them together, this is the first time since Chapter 2 Season 7 that Bugha has picked a teammate that is not a previous FNCS champ. So we'll have to see how they perform together.
Wow.
All right, let's talk about the duo landing in Mega City. Reet and Epic Whale. I mean, these guys could potentially also be considered favorites, right, Vivid?
I got one word for you, Zeke. Aggression, right? Watch out for Reet when it comes to these mythic pump shotguns and making sure that they find eliminations throughout the entirety of the game.
Yeah, they're great. They have 8 total FNCS champions under their belt. They're going to perform so well. Epic Whale, keep your eye on him.
Okay. Yeah, we're just going to have to speed on through this as well. Another duo on top of Reed and Epic Whale. Remember, these guys are basically kings of NA West before. Now looking to hang here on just NA, but a duo I think would probably be like a dark horse, you could kind of say, in the competition.
Yeah.
Trashy and Pump. How are you guys feeling about this duo coming into the weekend?
As much as they are a dark horse, right, I feel like a lot more people are starting to learn their name for sure. They've been playing so well in some of these cash cups, and specifically, I like this duo because of the strategies that they are actually able to implement, specifically early game Storm Surge strategies when it comes to collecting a bunch of extra shield, so that way they can take some of those early tags and just kind of trade them back, so that way they can get to end games consistently.
Oh yeah, they placed 8th last season, but this season they have shown that they have got so many victory royales this chapter for weekly finals, and I really believe that they have something to prove, and I honestly think they will in these games to come.
One last duo to talk about here, veterans like Ceice. It is Yamzo and Rise. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of respect on this duo, but considering them international status, is that where we could place them?
Yeah, I really think so, and I think this might be the season where we actually see them qualify to globals. The only thing that kind of worries me about this duo is that they're so good at playing low ground, but unfortunately for them, so are Acorn and Cold, and that's probably where we'll actually see Acorn and Cold most of the day. And fighting that duo for low ground is so tough. So I still think Yams and Rai have a great chance when it comes to actually breaking top 3.
I agree, and I do think, too, it is good to point out Yamzo and Rise and Acorn and Cold are the only 2 duos that have top 25 of 100% of their weekly final games. So I really think, if there's a challenge to go, they're head and head. Like, we're going to keep our eyes on them to see which one wins.
Absolutely, and before we walk away here, this bottom right half of the map is looking scary, okay?
Oh,
yeah.
This is going to be something we're focused on here in the competition. And just think, that was only like 6 duos we've highlighted here.
That's crazy.
There are so many more duos, so many high-caliber duos we'll be watching compete this very weekend. Now, speaking of high-caliber duos, we've got another one. It's Jacob PR and Monster D-Face.
Man, that was an introduction.
Say word. We get to come back. It's finals week. You know what the vibes are, Zeke.
It's good to see you guys. Welcome. Grand finals here in North America. We've made it. I feel like there's a lot of expectations coming into North America.
The truth is, last week the bar was raised. Storm Surge in particular was a factor, but not as much as we thought. The week was great. I know this weekend's going to be even better.
Yeah, and everybody talking and yapping, Acorn and Cold this, Acorn and Cold that. But there's a duo that's been on my radar. It's a duo that won 3 games back to back to end yesterday's Duo Cash Cup. That's Baka and Pars, but I'm also just a fan of NA West.
Yeah, I'm going to have to stick with Acorn and Cold. I am looking for a show. I just want to see all of the goodness that you guys can do right now.
When it comes to me, I'm looking ahead. I'm looking towards international events. I'm looking towards globals. I want to see who kicks off these first 6 games going into the MAR to actually finalize it, to make sure that they can make it that high caliber event.
Really quickly, do you guys have a duo that to you stands out? Is that Acorn Cold? Is that someone else?
I mean, listen, my boys Kanata and Aegis, I know you're contested, but I've seen some stats. Contested teams are not always out of the picture. I'm going for them.
Yeah, with the combined regions, there's about like 5-6 teams that stand out, but I'm going to continue NA West, that former region, Baka and Pars, they're one to watch out for.
You don't even got to ask me. You already know.
There we go. There you go.
Acorn and Cold.
It is that time. Acorn and Cold, are they the ones? That's what we're here to find out. But we are ready to go, and we hope all of you are as well. This is it. One of the biggest moments for North America. It happens right here, and it starts with game number 1.
Well, you heard it there first. It starts with game number 1. North America gets the kickoff here and now for the day 1, the finale, all of course setting up for the Global Championship.
If you believe that first 4 weeks of play, 3 weeks into Surge Week was any bit of excitement, well, guess what? Stand up and get ready because this finals is going to be one to remember. And thank God, everybody at home, that it is underway. Game number 1, Monster, starts right now.
It sure does. Couple teams being contested. We already know the numbers are up for them. Kanata and Adrian being one of the few. That's going to be the team that I want to bring my focus to, hopefully, out the gate here. If, of course, the teams decide to go in and take that fight. You see on screen, though, Batman Booga, Bacon, big boys from the West here coming in representing.
Yeah, this is a huge changeup as well because they thought they were going to get contested by Smallzy and Diego Plays. This is like a sigh of relief for them. Free loot. We can kind of get the game underway, but this monster is what you were waiting for.
Well, welcome to the grand finals of the FNCS Major 2. We get to kick it off with a bang here. Kanata's going to be the first to touch down, find himself a little weapon, and you can hear the shots ringing out already. Listen, Sprite on the other side, he's an experienced player. He's been in these types of fights in the past, but now talking about tier 1 caliber of an opponent here to go against, you can see what it's all about. Kanata and Adrian handle business.
Yeah, game number 1 already proven to be exciting with Kanata and Adrian setting the pace. And for Kanata, this means so much. He qualified to every single grand finals, but has yet to win the big one. This could be the weekend for him, and the implications means global championship.
We saw a lot from On1 and Ceice this weekend. Storm Surge was an exciting one for this duo here. On1 loves to fight. He's also exceptional at taking these types of battles. Look at how he's moving in on Zuki's right here.
Slowly but surely, you call yourself one of the best box fighters here on the region. Kind of pick him first when you play the draft. The shot's going to fire through, but that's not going to slow down neither Zypha or On1 as they bulldoze their way in and take down Zuki's.
Not only that, hit the emo, get the laugh, get him out of here. The replay, though, look at touches down, finds the Maverick Shock, and slides on up. Big pumps hit down. Just like that, it's all over.
Yeah, the Landrock got that Havoc, just wasn't really able to kind of put it to use. And you can see Trashy and Pump over here, a little bit of contestation coming out. And now already there's one elimination on the backside of Pump. That's Jack, who did go down. And instead of looking for Qual, they're just immediately trying to gain that height just in case he ran away. But sooner or later, they might know he's down there.
That is right. And listen, Trash and Pump have the most victory royales from low ground positions than any other duo right now. They are literally in the lead. You're talking about a team that is now fully healthy in a 2-on-1 situation. Qual has to hide out, but notice he slips out the back here. I don't even think they realize he's gone just yet, and he should be able to slide out of here safely.
Yep. You can see the slap juices coming into play for both Trashy and Pump. Just kind of get as much as you can off your drop. And it's just the only question is, did he get the reboot card onto Jock? As Qual does look like he is going to be able to get away overall as we jump on board the drop spot of both Yamzo and Rise. And Rise, you can see he's left by himself, but he's no stranger to being put into these positions.
Rise is an absolute favorite as well. You see him hit the quick knot. Doesn't even give his opponent time to go ahead and situate there. He's going to finish up Nick and Nick's there for a quick cleanup. Brings back Yamzo, but Yamzo tagged on the way down here. Yamzo is a type of player that when it comes down to finals lobbies, pros have had this rumbling about themselves, saying, hey, listen, he's had a hard time stepping up when it matters most. But Rise is on the opposite side of the conversation. This man has an accolade and a resume that really speaks for itself.
Yeah, and their consistency is insane. Even though they did miss out on 1 week through the first 3 weekly finals, they placed top 25 in every single one. And that goes to show, even in past seasons when they were contested, that as long as they get a chance to play, they're a contender in each and every one of their games.
Well, listen, Acorn, congratulations, signing to Team Dignitas. He says he wants to be the first while under the banner to bring home an FNCS championship. See Cold rocking alongside him. These guys are truly the tier 1 GOATs right now on the North American scene here. They've really been putting up the numbers. I mean, they're on a first place streak. It's hard to not conversate about them.
Yeah, and can you believe the way they dominated last season's FNCS finals. They've been taking that same momentum and continuing it into this one. But you said Acorn wants to be the first one to bring home a championship to Dignitas. Well, Booga's right here, and he has something to say about that.
I mean, he has to, right? Now alongside Man City's Threats, Threats has had quite the year. I didn't expect to see Threats actually earn his way on up to stand alongside a literal Excalibur style of player, which is, of course, Booga. Booga has nothing to prove to anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, he's already standing true, one of the best. I think there was a time and place where season after season he was counted out, but you know, he quickly changed that narrative post-World Cup. But let's hop on over to Vert. Vert, one of the few who, of course, has dabbled in cross-regional play, right? Not many can say that, and he's been at the top of his game lately. He's with Rokane, another veteran.
Yeah, definitely these guys just need to find that way to get consistent here on the lobby, because we know their pop-off moments are absolutely insane, and this format in the finals allows for those pop-off moments. Instead of the normal 2 points per elimination that you were getting for the weekly finals, it's now 4 points per elimination. So now that big risk comes with a big reward, and Vert, anytime he gets aggressive, that's going to be something he's looking out for.
It's really crazy how much the dynamic of Fortnite play has turned, right, into, especially in the recent seasons. You have, of course, the kinetic blades. Pushing an opponent is faster than ever. With red dots being introduced into the round of competition play as well, you really have this opening weapon, this rifle that you can hit a player from any distance, but now you can also close that distance gap. The game is faster than ever, and I feel like we're seeing that even now in the player pool in general. We kick things off pretty quickly. The elimination feed was lighting up.
It's like Dignitas all over the lobby, but Ritual and TK contested over on this side as well. It's probably Smite and Larson over on the outside. And honestly, I like this. They're feeling each other out. They're not just fighting right out of the gates. They're giving each other, or giving themselves, I should say, a chance to really show what they've been working on week in, week out. But since they're kind of splitting the loot and they're going their separate paths, they have to figure out where they're going to get the Surge and the rest of the loot in their arsenal. Because right now, having a Havoc is good, but having a common Havoc isn't the best one that you can have.
Yep, that's right. Here we have, of course, Bully Bean and Lysix here, just eyeing out the competition, looking out for anyone in the distance. Like we talked about, the dynamic of Fortnite, of course, now revolves around having this red dot. It's all about positioning yourself into locations that you can farm your Storm Surge early, which means get that damage up so you're not the victim of damage later from the game's mechanics.
Yeah, especially it allows you, if you do get that far zone pull, it allows you to focus on that rotation rather than, am I going to get Surge? Am I going to rotate? You fall back behind a lot of the other teams, but one that I'm looking forward to, high hopes, Muzz and Degen. Muzz, he's won an FNCS on 2 different regions. Now imagine he wins the inaugural one with the combined regions. That is accolade on top of accolade for someone like him.
Very few have the resume Muzz can boast here. Degen, of course, has some great big title wins under his belt as well. Of course, some of the underneath some of the bigger third-party tracks. But hold up, let's hop on over to Ceice. We had the conversation with him. We had him up for an interview here. Ceice, he says he has a feeling like he had during the World Cup days. Can you imagine sitting in a seat right now, partner behind you, like you're in the same room, you're in the zone right now. Mentality and the mental state of competition, being in the right state of mind is so important. Ceice is there. I think this is a dark horse.
Yeah, I think this is a team that has all the potential in the world, so kind of hitting the nail on the head there, especially with Tragics. He plays almost every single event. He plays the Collegiate Cups. He go ahead and test the waters against so many different opponents, but what that does is allows you to see so many different scenarios, so when a fight does break down, maybe it's something you don't necessarily expect, you're going to be prepared. And you can see them splitting up Brutal Bastion. On one side, they're trying to set up for Surge, and on the other one, Aviv and Skittles, they already have the key to that vault.
Now, what's crazy is what we're looking at are tons of players inside the zone. Now more than ever, the way Fortnite plays out, especially when there's a vault in play, people will sit around and heal, stay inside the zone for as long as possible, try to optimize their loot. And you can see even right here, Aviv and Skittles not looking the greatest with material count and stuff like that, but they do have the time on their side. But let's get to the zone. Let's get somewhere safe. It looks like there's a battle potentially breaking out between Nolans and crew here.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of the new flare guns popping off, just making sure that they know where those opponents are at. Typically, you do see people save it for later on in the end game so you don't get surprised at any single turn, but using it early allows you to find that perfect rotation, to find where a lot of these players are at, so you can either go ahead, try to hold them back for Surge, or you can just go directly to the center zone.
And it really does show you the difference of dynamic. what you would normally see. You save the flare gun, not in finals. Finals, there's a problem nearby. Let's just make sure what this problem's looking like. And also, when you spot a team out, I mean, sometimes that's just enough to fend them off. Say, hey, look, they know exactly where we're at. Maybe this is not worth taking this battle.
Yeah, I just kind of had a question mark pop before my eyes. Elige doesn't have any variation of a shotgun in hand, so interesting to see how that one plays out. But back on board, Vert and Rokane. You kind of talked about the possibility for them to pop off, get a little bit aggressive. Right now, it does look like they're testing the waters. That's Ceice and Lawrence on the other side. They have the advantage. They have that little bit of height, but even a little bit of height makes a big difference.
I know Ceice's been a free agent for quite some time. Lawrence, of course, being a recent signing to Limit. Rocking with this crew right here. I like this duo. This is a very young duo, a duo that has had tons of FNCS finals experience, but again, being in these lobbies, it's nothing new to them. How high, how far can they push that boundary? We'll find out here soon, but let's get into a battle. This is one that's going to conclude. If I have to put my money on it, Larson right now seemingly is on the, I would say, the losing side, although they're pushing back. Look at all the opponent builds. They have higher health pools. Endpen and Polarized, the more experienced duo, seems to have it on the control right now.
Yep, all the way from Kinjitsu Crossing, where it's kind of uncontested over there. Not a lot of chance for Storm Surge, but leaves Polarized and Endpen hunting for it. But with the amount of kinetic blades you are going to get on that side of the map, mobility is not going to be a problem. As again, box to box, that is User, that is Larson on the other side. User and Larson, they've competed at the FNCS Invitational. And let me tell you, Monster, you saw it as well as I did. They shocked everybody in attendance over and over with those off-spawn exchanges.
Larson, and on land, right? On land was one of the few that was putting up those numbers when no one expected it. And you know what? When the competition ended, they were up there inside that top 10. They were up there as one of the few that absolutely came out and showed up when it mattered most. Of course, you know, taking home the bag is always nice as well, so lucky for us, we get to celebrate in those moments. But hold up, Pamstu, Fatch, Acorns down, Cold is here. I have to assume this is a one-on-one right now, but no, Pamstu is here too. It's a 2-on-1. Pamstu's already breaking this thing down. Cold's coming in for the battle.
Wow, Cold with a monster shot on a Fatch. Everything comes crashing down. That was Pamstu trying to think outside of the box, but Cold is 2 steps ahead of the competition. And another big shot coming out from Cold. This is the first test that we're seeing here in the finals.
You are seeing why this is an FNCS Champion 1 who is active in the field right now. Cold putting up the defensive measures against, again, a favorite. Pamstu and Fatch, teams that have traveled across the world to position themselves to be in the most hyper-competitive environment, so they have the best odds here on the stage. If Fatch and Pamstu can overcome and fully wipe out Cold, I mean, this might be one of the few chances they get to.
Yep. Rift Island is now spawning up, and everybody here close by, including all 3 of our competitors, has that decision. Do I disengage, go for Rift Island? Cold's probably thinking, do I disengage and try to get Acorn back? First usage of the Connect Blade's going to come through. You can see in the mini-map, nobody's really looking his way. I think Cold has just committed a heist.
There is one, though, in the distance is Lyzux there. Remember, they were playing those bushes and looking around for an opportunity to find tags, and they find a first couple onto Cold. Cold now has to weigh his decision here. He goes into the augments. He finds himself the flare gun. Okay, this is big. Again, these information, you know, being able to gather that information right here is extremely important. It can do wonders for you and your environment.
Especially if you have Acorn as an IGL that can focus on just IGLing.
True.
Re and Epic Well, fan favorites. You can see their loot already. They have those Mythic Havoc pumps all the way from Mega City, but they want more. They want those pulse rifles at the top of Rift Island. And if anybody dare contest them, they have to be careful.
The scariest part, we all know how good Re is. You're going to give him a pulse rifle this early? Not a soul in sight looking to contest the island? This is so different compared to last weekend's Surge Week, right? The weekend that we saw Surge Week, there were 4 or 5 teams hustling their way on over to these islands. Not now. You respect it. Tier 1 duos up there, you give it to them.
Yeah, it's a huge risk here in the finals. You kind of saw it very, very similarly over on the EU region, to where in those first early games, there weren't as many teams contesting that Rift Island to go for it until later on in the game, as Casker's Clarity slowly being surveyed by Nounsy and ZZ. Is this an opportunity they could take advantage of as Casker escapes? A couple of shots are going to land. His shields get broken, and this could be a great opportunity for them to try to close the distance.
Opens it up with 110 tag, decides, hey, we're above the surge, eases up on the pedal. I'm not sure if I'm in full agreement with the disengage, but hey, getting into a prime position is equally important, and for them, they're okay with this. But look at the numbers already adjusting, right? This is why you have to think about whether or not hey, should we have finished that fight?
That was closing the distance. The play is cold. He did get Acorn back at least once. That's going to be Miro who does go down. Instead of going and getting greedy just to pick up that elimination, it's going to be a double res from both of those teams. Cooper and Mero is the team just a little bit north.
And let's just give a huge round of applause. Cold steps into the storm, saves his teammate, gets pushed by another duo in Coop and Mero, and then defends them successfully as well. Now tries to escape here. Can he get to the heels in time? He does just get there. That was so close, but again, they are back in like they never left, all because Cold was willing to fight for it.
I'm getting that feeling of deja vu. It takes me back to the FNCS Invitational again, and that's what all these players are fighting for. Of course, the prize money, the Axe of Champions, but there is 3 spots up for grabs for the Global Championship at the end of the year.
That is true. Here's Pump and Trashy, also just on the heels of getting themselves into the new zone here. And the feed, Batman Booba finds himself a nice little elimination in the cleanup there, but Pump and Trashy are rotating. They have plenty of loot out here to work with, and okay, things are going to settle down right now. A little mat split between Trashy and Pump as they start to situate themselves.
It's another team right here. The consistency is just out of this world. Kind of in my predictions to get top 10 here. I know they're fighting for that #1 spot, or at least the top 3. As they rotate neck and neck, right next to Ceice and Tragics, another team nearby as well. This is going to be the congested side of the zone. We keep pulling south, we keep pulling west, so eventually one of these players is going to have to think outside of the box and how to get ahead of all of them.
Everyone working the same way. Casker just finds himself now as he walks into a barreling big shot there on the other side. Casker's going to be happy about this one. He's going to pick up CZ and the teammate. That is fully done now. And the refresh is nice. That's welcomed. But the zone's hustling them on over. We're getting to that point of the game. We're getting to the late stages now.
Yep, where every mistake, every step you take is going to be watched like a hawk. And talk about a duo right here. Both of them coming from Elite, Quanti and Peterbot. Another team, when you watch them throughout the weekly finals, performing high standards. But right now, they're below the damage threshold when it comes to Storm Surge. It isn't much, but Peterbot knows with his back up against the wall, he's ready to perform at a moment's notice. And you can see, though, he's not just getting greedy. He's not just going for the shots. He immediately takes that height over the team and starts to look off into the distance.
This is crazy. Your options, bar none, difficult. Like, you have Pamstone and Fatch, Trashy below you, in the distance, a whole duo. Rise right there, and then on one. A player you do not want a box fight right now. Peterbot is in a world of trouble. It's not looking good for Quanti either, and they're going to try to sit this one out and heal it. Is there a chance to fight back? Doesn't quite seem like anything's opening up just yet.
And the worst thing here is they're separated. Quanti all the way down low in the mud. Peterbot, the tower high in the sky, but it doesn't matter for either one of them because they're just taking tick after tick, damage after damage. 21 below. Quanti looks like he's on his last breath.
Just in time to save Quanti. Quanti was a tag away from getting sent back out to the lobby, but just like that, Peterbot finds a quick 2-piece, and that keeps him in the round here, but the zone's now moving. Quanti has nothing, so if Quanti hasn't ran already, that's game, so yeah, he's already cutting loose. What a tough position to be in.
Yeah, if it wasn't Storm Surge, it wasn't the other teams in the lobby, it's definitely not wanting to go down to the zone, pulling you in. Even though there's only 40 left, at least give something for Quanti to work with, but that goes to show Peterbot and Quanti almost have no other choice. They need a siphon. They need a refresh, or their game might not last that much longer.
Way to play for it as well. You know, he could have easily healed himself, but he's selfless, or selfishly did not do that. He ends up supporting his teammate. Now it's up to Cold right here. Or, of course, sorry, Acorn to put Cold on his back as he's lost his teammate.
Done to show that it's not all about Cold. The IGL makes some big plays too. Paper gets boxed up, trapped towards the low ground, barely able to escape on the tail end. Acorn not really peeking for the shot, but eventually he's going to have to do something. 45 below the damage threshold. He's continuously trying to hold height over both Paper and Shadow.
And he pulls zone as well. The happen comes all the way to him. He is completely safe right here. The shot's coming from the distance, and this is what a professional player will do. He's going to go in and give himself a little bit of space, change the layer up as well, just to keep eyes on the team just below him. And with excellent style, he is now not only safe, but has time to bounce back and get healthy.
Yeah. Acorn. A couple of seconds here for him to try to stabilize his position. He too, just like Quanti and Peterbot, who I did see go down in the feed, needs some sort of refresh. He needs something to keep himself going, but as a solo, it's not going to be the easiest thing. It's exactly how Cold went down. That's TK versus Ritual. It's just going to be a trade between the two, as TK is just probably scrounging to try to get the shots, goes down the Storm altogether, as Acorn stands tall. 8 points so far. He's looking for more.
Well, luckily they both did a tag. They both got credits for the eliminations, and that's going to be 2 points. Those are extremely important. But look, Court, whoa, gives up high ground because he sees loot down low and jumps on top of it. I don't know if it was completely worth it. He realizes, wait, that's only 50 brick. Are you kidding me? To spot that out. Now he gives up the best position where he could have gotten the tags that he needs here, but he sees more heals in the distance. Instead of going for those slab juice, he says, I need to get to height and I need to get there now. And on up he comes right on back. What a play.
Yeah, it just shows that even though there's loot, even though it's a necessity for him to try to get anything that he can, yeah, he's not getting greedy. And that's exactly why we call him one of the best IGLs of all of Fortnite. And I expect that to reign true. It's 12 games throughout the weekend, 6 today and 6 tomorrow, as Kanata and Agers poised to have a great game. You saw them win their off-spawn exchange over towards the racetrack, and they extended 2 more eliminations after that.
When you talk about some of the best, you got to put Kanata in that conversation. It's been years since he's fallen outside of the top 10, by the way. Check his resume. Look at his history. This man performs, contested or not. But let's get back to Vert here. Let's get to this conversation. He's below the surge. He has to take a fight. They get in, they clean it up quickly, and just like that, it is over. Now, 52 players remain here, 30 duos. Things are starting to look very choppy here. This is the end game. You can imagine the stress is put on the lobby right now. It must be so hard to even navigate this here.
I know, I got scared for a moment. You hear it in the distance. You see it there on screen. The pulse rifles from both Reet and Epicwell going and firing off so much, but Acorn down on Storm Surge, tries to make a miracle happen, but he gets caught out. And that's Baka there that can kind of clean up all that loot, and that was one of my worries seeing it here. Epicwell and Reet down on Storm Surge, but I think they just sacrificed the early game Surge to make sure they got both the Vault and the overclock pulse rifles.
That's right. Now they find themselves in a great position here to play off of, but you open that window, you get tagged. Reet's gonna get punished here. Remember, they do have, like you said, those pulse rifles. This is the weapon for high ground. Like, you are in the best position to play for height when you have this. You have everything in your power to do so. They're just teetering on the safety line and the danger zone for Epicwell and Reet. I mean, they have to find something, have to find it now.
See him looking off into the distance. Not really finding anything that he's comfortable with, and as soon as he tries to rotate from point A to point B, all his shields, his HP goes down. 3 HP before getting that mini off. A huge moment for Reet, trying to stay alive. He only has a couple of seconds to work with. 91 below the damage threshold. Him or Epicwell need to land a monster of a shot on that team below him, and they only have a few seconds to make it work.
Reet's trying to trust in Epic to do it, but Epic doesn't find anything. Now it's up to Reet here. Just moments away there. The shot comes in. Even better for the opponents. They're going to get an elimination credit, and it's up to Epicwell by himself, but I have to assume they're going to be taken out here shortly. Let's pan on over the high ground, though. We have Jamper up top right now. Of course, we saw Jamper switch up his duo, try something new for the new season. Looks like it's going well for Game 1.
Yeah, this is honestly, I love his outlook as well. He's a huge fan of competition. He was talking about it on social media, watching EU, getting himself pumped and ready to go for the NA Finals, and already with 2 elimination points, the placement points as well, Booga and Threats, in almost a very, very same scenario, but instead of flying high through the sky, they're one of the teams that is trying to take over the low ground.
Well, I've seen all the predictions. I've seen the list. I've seen the top 5s. Booga and Threats are up there somewhere in that mix as teams to perform well. Take a look at Booga. This is where he begins to do best. It's these end games. Bryson Chubbs are one of the other teams on the other side of the barrel here. They're trying to go ahead and fight back. They're 62 above the surge too. There's still about 10 players that have to fall here. A lot of players are still somehow surviving right now.
Yeah, and you're actually seeing why everybody is saving the flare gun till the end of the game. Rotating. They're trying to make it as easy as possible, but they're just trying to gather that information. DeQuinton breaks through, but he goes down altogether. Neto, he is trying to make something happen. He has no heals. He peeks through the wall. One shot's going to get landed, but it's not going to be enough to get the knock. But he has to continue on. He needs a refresh, though. He has no match, no heals, nothing other than a trick up his sleeve, or at least I hope.
This is a tough spot to be in. You're by yourself. Players everywhere. You see dudes zipping around. And what do? You run for your life. That's what Soneto's trying to figure out right here. And he is just playing through the builds here. Very dangerous game he's playing in, and there it is. He finally gets taken out. Finally, Jamper also gets target off a height. It's Muzz and DGen who is waiting for them, and now they capitalize. We wanted to see if Muzz can step up when it mattered. DGen's here to back him up. They're hurt.
Yeah, that stealth pistol just making sure if you land a shot, you mark him for a couple of seconds. That's what DGen's going to use, knowing that he's not getting contested. That gives him the confidence to try to hold on to the high ground. But how long can you hold on to it with teams like Yamzo and Rai still in the lobby? Kanata and Agers dropping down low to ultimate low ground. They have no match, so that was the best play they could have made at this scenario.
One of the few teams just tearing it up right now, but they let their guard down. Shots coming from above, and Agers is down. Kanata is not by himself. He is also Mr. Pump when he's got it in his hands. He's hitting big shots here, and now he's up and running. Kinetic Blade to find himself back to the storm here, and just like that, he's still in the running.
Yep, solo clutches and Kanata. Name a better duo coming out. This is a monster moment for him because if he makes big plays, that's confidence. But Yamzo and Rai towards the top, they go down all together as Kanata still trying to keep his run intact. On the other side, that's Death to Tahi knocking on his door as Kanata is not answering. He just completely rotates on out, repositions himself because he has more left in the tank.
Know what they say, Jacob? Let him cook. He's here. He breaks his way into this top 15. He has a chance to do something big right now, but hold up. Duke, Edgy, down low. 4 elims as well, looking very, very solid here. Still holding on to those flares. But hold up. Let's get back to it now, but no. Kanata gets caught. 7 eliminations, though. He does end up wrecking it. User brings it to top 5, and User is finding a chance here to continue to earn some more.
Casker's Clarity trying to do it as well. They have 5 eliminations, and they're one of the few duos still left in the lobby, but under pressure from all angles, and they both get dropped, sent back all together. And this is Paper and Shadow. He saw him in the interview early on. As long as they can keep their chemistry intact, they're going to be one of the teams to look out for, and already proven that to be true.
Using a rail, of course, to break everything as well. Shadow is just tearing up things right here. Paper is here as well, still alive. The zone's going to cook him just a little bit. Duke down low, clears things out, finds Paper there, and all of a sudden they find the refresher that they need. They have some mats to finally make a platform here to work with. The edit comes through. Edgy's down. Paper, Duke. Oh no, it's all exchanges here. It's User from nowhere at 6 elims now, and Muzz is the only one on the other side, and he hits the shot, Jacob. He closes things.
I forgot about DGen and Muzz, but that's because they were smooth sailing on the high ground zone after zone. As soon as they were able to solidify it, they held on to it, and you can see one's healing at the top, the other one dropped down low to get the elimination.
Going tit for tat there in the end game, back and forth like a little game of tug of war. You didn't really know who had the strength to pull through, but Muzz, when you close your eyes, when you looked away, he was the player there to back it up. Take a look at how DGen was putting down those tags. You talked about this weapon in particular. It tags your opponents. It gives you all the info.
Yep, all the information in the world. You can see already Muzz dropping down low. That's going to be their 4th elimination and that victory royale. This is game number 1. How you start means so much because it's momentum and confidence going into the rest of the day.
It's exactly that. This is where the pressure starts to make diamonds. For us here, that's going to be wraps. We have a whole competition to cast. Let's get to it.
Thank you guys so much. Jacob used the word momentum. That is what these duos are looking to hit the ground running with. Now, that was just game 1. We have 5 more today, and of course 6 tomorrow. But for DGen and Muzz, this is how they want to start the competition.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a home zone as well, pulling all the way over to Shattered Slab. So, you know, that added benefit of landing over there, able to kind of build up to that high ground early on, get some Storm Surge. But honestly, only having 1 elimination going into some of those moving zones and still having a plethora of builds left to keep maintaining that high ground led them to that victory royale.
They were definitely keeping their eye on those builds. They were moving through builds, saying like picking up the slack of everybody else's eliminations. And you know, they didn't initially go for that height, so I think they were very patient and took it just in time. So letting everybody on the low ground fight it out, but inevitably they made it work. Height, taking height, getting the shots right, and jumping down when they needed to, Vivid.
Yeah, exactly. Jumping down when they needed to is also like the pivotal point, right? Making sure that they kind of both just kept applying the pressure. And Jacob called out, he was like, oh my gosh, I forgot about DGen and Muzz. Forgot about height almost entirely because there was so much action going on down in the low ground, and they kind of just like didn't even involve themselves until it was finding that 2v1 situation, close it out, clean.
Chaos is reigning supreme here on NA. Let's take a look at our standings. I want to see if we can look to maybe refine some of that going into later games, but after that first game, DGen and Muzz, they will sit at the top with the victory royales. Now, friends, I know in EU, if you guys had a chance to watch, eliminations were a very big chunk of the points, obviously being 4 points per elimination. Yet we haven't really seen, like right here on the front page, the highest is 7, right? Do we expect to see NA get maybe a little more aggressive, look to find those eliminations as the competition continues to go on?
Yeah, I think so. And it's going to be big for some of these big name teams like Kanata and Aegir. 7 eliminations, and 2 of those coming from all spawn, unfortunately being contested. But the fact that they're already up 1, Zeke mentioned it, momentum. So if they can continue winning off spawn, they could do very, very well, because they would be a favorite duo to like win the whole thing if they weren't contested. So if they can kind of flip that coin and just go like 6-0 off spawn, we could see them at the top of the leaderboard all day.
Yeah, and I do think they definitely have that ability to make it even later in the game. He just kind of got stuck in a little sticky situation there, but it happens. I think too, Aegir's going down, leaving him as a solo. Obviously, you have that being not ideal, but I think too, again, like if they can win off spawn, make it late in endgame, we're going to see the points stacking up. More eliminations, all of them.
Yeah, all of the eliminations. That's what we want to see. Do remember, there is consistency that will also play a factor. Edgy as well there with Duke, sitting in that 4th place spot. They do look to have pretty strong start here, ending the day, or rather, starting the day in that top 4. Do we continue to see that word carry on with this team, momentum?
Yeah, it's actually, I think it's probably a lot of people's little bit of a surprise to see them breaking out and having this game 1, such a solid one as well, claiming that low ground, whether they were able to, because we've seen a couple of our low ground teams actually go down early that game, so they kind of took advantage of that very, very cleanly. But if that continues to happen, I could definitely see Duke and Edgy doing very, very well throughout the weekend. Kind of a duo flying under a lot of people's radar, but proving already that that shouldn't be the case.
Oh yeah, and again, you could just see in that clip they did so well, and even being put in situations where they were in the water, like jumping around, like just the perfect timing, placing their builds, being very aware of their surroundings. Clean.
Yeah, and I do kind of want to highlight here, looking at this top 10 so far. Remember, this is just game 1. Let's not get crazy, but this being game 1, there's not a lot of these like higher profile duos you're kind of used to seeing in that top 10. Someone like Booga and Threats, right?
Right.
After game 1, not sitting in the top 10.
Yeah, that's surprising to say the least, but sometimes, some of these duos need to like adjust to some of their surroundings. Maybe it's like an all-spawn situation, but still they made it into the end game, and that's what I want to see out of Booga. I want to see them make every single end game being uncontested. I want to make sure that they have that off-spawn loop path figured out, and the fact that they made it into this game is already giving me high hopes when it comes to this duo actually being able to take the whole thing.
They're just getting warmed up. All right, guys, we'll give them a little bit more time. It's just game 1. I really think that we'll see some amazing gameplay from these guys in the coming up games.
Yeah, and I think, Jenny, some duos need to do that, right? They need those kind of warm-up games to get going. And sometimes they are day 2 teams, right?
Yep, that is definitely the case. I've seen that happen multiple times.
Yeah, of course. I mean, remember, everybody just calm down. This is just game 1, right? This is kind of the warm-up stage. This is just like, let's have a feeler game and let's see how things shake up. How are we hoping to see maybe game 2 go? Is it maybe more of the same? Because you don't want to let too many of these games pass, right?
Yeah, I feel like the duo that got a lot of pressure on them right now, Acorn and Cold, didn't necessarily have the game that they were hoping for sure right there. Maybe some Storm Surge. Acorn got knocked very, very early on. Cold almost got off a sick 1v2, just retreated, got the reboot off. Still nothing really came out of that duo when it came to making it into the end game.
Unfortunate events happen. Things happen. You just can't be exactly sure of what's going to happen, even if we have this perfect record on them. We're like, y'all are amazing. That could definitely be the case in these coming up games, and I do believe that will be the case. They're just getting their footing right. We'll give you the next game.
Yeah, there's a meta within the meta of the competition, right?
Exactly.
So it's all about adapting. But we are geared up and ready to go for game number 2 of the FNCS. Find your seats to the bus. It's game time.
Thank you, Zeke. I got my seat on this battle bus. After that first game, you better bet that I am on the edge of that seat as well.
I'm with you, man. It was crazy. My seatbelt's off. Listen, I'm just waiting for the horn at this point to ring off. Game 2's right in front of us. You saw what happens. Teams that were contested, Kanata, Aegir, survived, and look at what they turned that entire round into a miracle run.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of teams as well begin to use that Shadow Tracker augment, the flare gun with the Shadow Tracker pistol that you've seen them take take very, very late into the game. So that makes me ask the question, did they choose to keep it? Is it something that they're having their blueprint, or were they just that down bad and they just made it work?
Well, the truth is they absolutely made it work. High ground was king there. I thought Epic Whale and Reet were going to be the team to turn it around. Incredible to see how they have the pulse rifle, right? Everything that you can possibly ask for and then still fall behind in Surge. I wonder, what is it that they have to do to go ahead and tweak their spot, right? Because they're together. They're one of the few teams that are also literally playing in the same household. They should have the land buff.
Yep, and luckily that we get to find out very, very soon what's going to happen here on game number 2, because you heard the battle bus. It is ready to get going. What adjustments will be made from these players? We got a north to south bus with a little bit of a western lean, so some of these teams that may not have had the best off spawn will get a second chance to go at it again.
Well, I'm already rooting for Ceice and Tragics. I'm already rooting for Kanat and Aegis, Chubbs and Bryce. Okay, this is a fight we did not get to see kick off. We do know, however, that Shadow was in that endgame with Paper and no Paper. Chopped down Shadow as well, right? And quick. What went wrong? They must have just gotten beat to the drop this time.
Looked like a full-on 50-50 for just one chest. And you don't win the chest, then, well, that's it. It's Kanata and Agers trying to go 2 for 2. Great shots landing from Kanata right out of the gates. Here's that Agers needs some help over on the other side, but he pulls out a big one, taking down Giants. But Sprite, he fires back. He takes down to Kanata. And now at this stage in the game, that Siphon's going to be a must because Agers is hot on his heels. He has the Havoc. He has the tactical pistol. So the Siphon's going to come through. That's going to allow for Sprite to stay alive that much longer. He's doing a good job fighting back. All he has is that compact SMG. Even a splash to get him that much closer to full health. But it's not enough to outlast Agers.
Ooh, but the tags, though, there's a team coming in quick. They even shoot the downed body, and Kanata falls there. It's Labucky and Okis sliding on in quick as well, not looking to give them any time. They have kinetic blades, too, so if they really want to push, they absolutely can right now.
Yep. Kind of watching a lot of streams, looking at a lot of what people think about how this is going to go down, and they knew this was going to be a lost spawn exchange at the racetrack, but Labucky and Okis, they're the ones that are taking advantage of all this. Instead of just landing at their split drop, looting up, they went straight for those kinetic blades, and now that they see a fight was going down, they're just trying to play janitor to clean it up.
I like this, though. Agers does manage to time his exit just sly enough that he doesn't get spotted out. Okis doesn't seem to catch wind of him either, and Bucky and crew are just like, yep, you know what? This is our racetrack now, and they get to claim the true spoils, honestly, the free shield and everything else in between here. What a time. Rotate. Now Kanata and Aegis have to really think about that.
Think about so much off spawn as we saw them late in the game.
Hello?
4 helims. What is Duke and Edgy doing to start this one off?
I'm happy we got the replay here. I was gonna call it in. I was gonna call it in. Show me what happened. Duke and Edgy come in. They wrap up Bully's crew. They find Lizix, and another team timing these contested areas and taking full advantage.
That wasn't even the first 2 eliminations they got. That was just the ladder, the last 2 that they were able to pick up. So they're already getting their game going. Off to a hot start is Nick and Nyx. Have a very, very similar position with a split drop, having to split loot with another team. So you're going to have to think outside of the box, your loot path and rotations to go ahead and clean up a lot of that loot.
Well, this is a 2-day competition. This is game 2. So for some, the journey is just beginning. You may have a lead, but it's not over yet. But ooh, the window shot. Commandment just showcasing that game knowledge right there, waiting for his opponents to go ahead and slide his way through. Now, these are metal structures behind you. You notice the Commandment second guesses trying to shoot through that. That's not going to work. Yep, it's going to take a whole lot of pickaxes, and now he gets himself trapped in the box. And no, unfortunately, small mistake. Those walls have a ton of health. That little difference there. That's why he got caught.
Yeah, and then Yusuf just coned him not once, but 2 different times. Seeking the distance here, and that goes down. He's just surveying for information. Visuals and Braids over towards Anvil Square. This is going to be a 2v2 that is going down against G-Money and Dom. I've seen G-Money throughout the different weeks of qualifiers. Definitely become a fan, but limit Braids and Visuals. They're no slouches either. They don't back down from any fight, but a couple shots fired off with the shield cake down that they know he is weak.
I want to see what he can do here. Sliding around. Looking for a more defensive play. He gets back to the box. You have plenty of loot here. This is what the fight's over now. You can see Anvil Square yielding out tons of great upgrades here. But the loot cap, man, gotta get to it. Yup, I was gonna say, it's not really worth sticking around and fighting for. You really gotta get back to the farm here. Need your mats, gotta set yourself up for those mid games. You'll see this happen a lot amongst the top tier players. They'll start a fight. Maybe it's just not worth completing, right? And you just go ahead and back out. It's totally fine.
Saw Mason and Scope there trying to sneak up third party, but from one side to the next. Moo is there. Got to wonder where School is at. That is going to be close by. I mean, Scare Bear there for a moment. They're going to back up just a little bit. Moo's not going to back down at all. He's trying to hold his position. He thinks he does have the advantage, which he does with a little bit of height, but he has to watch out into the distance. That third party is there. But a little bit of a blessing as it allows him to get a little bit more Storm Surge in his back pocket before disengaging and rotating all together. These are the things you have to watch out for. If him and Scare don't necessarily have mobility, they can't lay it all on the line in a fight that is in Storm.
Looking at the feed there, Scope does find visual, so it looks like things concluded on that side. Now we get to hop in with Booga in Threats, who has the bridge themselves here. It's going to be able to cap out their middle. All comes to rotate here. Threats trying to put himself in a more prime position. They do have zone 2, so very excellent spot to be in here. And already in top 10. Not bad.
Just like last game, though. Got a south zone with a western pull. Teams got to start catching on to a lot of where the zone is going very, very early on with the kinetic blades. You don't want to get caught out. And talk about getting caught, though. Kanata, he goes down. That's Iyamso who's able to find that first elimination. And once again, just like last game, Agers is left by himself. He was able to put up 60 points in that last game. Some of it as a solo, some of it not. Let's see if he can do it again.
It's crazy how he's actually managed to find a functioning loadout, though, even though he was completely pushed off of the racetrack. Literally bounces back, brings back Kanata. Kanata falls again. And remember, they're in the top 5 right now. Yes, it's only game 1, but an excellent performance for a team that's being contested. You find yourself with such a huge advantage. You do not want to give it away. You already have one of the biggest challenges and hurdles in front of you. It's staying alive for Dragon and Elise. They are staying alive too. They wrap up now. This is the second time now we've seen this team pretty much tackle a crew like Nounsy. They're looking very well here.
Yeah, it's a team that I feel like it's just only a matter of time before they continue to perform at their potential, at their ceiling. They're one of the teams that kind of benefited to the combined regions, going on over to Central. Their ping got that much better. So I expect them to kind of continuously progress as the days go on, as Visuals ends up in a tight spot. He watches Braids go down, and Dom on the other side is going to be on the receiving end of a huge trade. He needs that siphon if he's going to be a solo.
You can see that excitement on his face. He was animated. He was feeling pretty good, but Scope, Mason come right on in, finish things up. Dust under the rug. Muzz and Degen, after a game 1 victory, looking pretty good here. Slow and steady wins the race for them. A sleeper duo, undoubtedly. Degen, people forget, have all of that experience of not only playing for placement, but performing in end games. Is one of those sleeper, absolute sleeper duos or individuals that we have here in the Fortnite space.
Yeah, you can see where they're kind of setting up on a little bit of a mountain that's already there in the distance. They see Mega's tower high in the sky. That's not something they want to challenge, which is why they put that ramp up. But from one side of the map to the next, Mega City, where you already see Re and Epic get that Mythic Havoc pump very, very early on. But we want to see how they're handling Surge. In that last game, it was kind of their demise at the end of the day. And with very, very mirrored zones from the last game, now they have a chance to kind of change things up, adapt on the fly, and see what they're really made of. Because we know they're one of the top contenders in this lobby.
It's crazy to think that Re and Epic will be one of the teams facing the troubles of needing damage when they are literally in one of the most highly sought after POIs, the Mega City. Everyone just playing to that same strategy. Build a single tower base, use your red dot, look for free tags. It's kind of tough when everyone plays so passively and you don't get those freebies out the gate. There's Jamper and Crew looking really solid as well. Just trying to set up here, heavy hitting rifle in hand.
Gotta watch out though, him and Jamper are separated, you know as well as I do. If a team spots you out as a solo, whether your duo is alive or not, they are going to try to pounce, but the race continues. Hopefully Agers has his sneakers laced up pretty tightly because the racetrack all the way to the other side of the map. That's Quanti and Peterbot. So many duos have a chance to take shots, and now it's Quanti and Peterbot's chance, and if last game has any pressure on them for Quanti and Peterbot, they know they got to deal with Surge. They know they got to go ahead and try to make it to zone, because the longer they stay out here, the harder it is going to be.
At this point, there must be some stat waiting to get added around, like Aegis has officially potentially survived the most tier 1 duos in a single game, like trying to bring back his team. I'm sure there's something just waiting, some record to be broken right now. All, of course, because the Kinetic Blade allows you to just traverse the entire Fortnite space so quickly. But it looks like he will be able to bring back Kanata potentially right now.
Yeah.
Quanti and Cruz say, hey, dog, he's gone.
Yeah. I think the only trouble they're going to have is Storm Surge, but if they continue to go to the southern portion of the zone, if it continues to pull south as well, they will end up on a slower side of the zone eventually. Playing with Sphinx, a team that I love to see perform week after week, and you can see during the weekly finals, 8 of the 18 games were won by a contested duo in NA, and that's huge, because a lot of people kind of see it, I'm doomed, I'm contested, my FNCS is over. This is writing a whole different script right before our very eyes.
Yeah, the thing is, like we said, historically speaking, the stats say if you are contested, you don't have too many chances at, you know, bringing home the full championship. Not a single team has been able to do that. The best placing we've seen is actually around 4th, I believe. So that is about as difficult it can get. But I would say in recent times, it's changing. I think we're seeing better performances from teams that are contested as teams have managed to become more consistent.
Acorn and Cold, team that everybody in Fortnite, or at least the large majority, kind of counts as one of the favorites to repeat back-to-back here at FNCS Major 2. But with only 8 points so far, there was only a couple eliminations in that first game going down before a lot of that placement begins to pick in. They need to start getting on pace here, a pace that we know they can have.
And do keep in mind, let's frame this picture for everyone. This is the most competitive lobby we have ever seen as far as the North American region goes, because we have this full-on merger. The player base is larger. The pool of competitors is just literally better. And for the first time, again, on the North American region, we have multi-regional FNCS champions competing against one another on an online event. So this FNCS for North America really is, on paper, probably the most crazy we've ever seen.
And with only 3 spots up for grabs for that global championship at the end of the year, that's why teams are making that big risk. Degen and Muzz winning game number 1, taking high ground very, very late in that game. Now they're going for Rift Island early, but another team is slowly but surely trying to close that same distance. While what was free in game number 1 for Reet and Epicwell may not necessarily be the same here for Degen and Muzz.
We talked about that from game 1 to game 2. There's going to be players and teams that become more and more bold with their decisions. These Rift Islands are not just going to be given away. Teams are going to begin fighting for it. When you need to take your game and make the best of it, you have to go for the best odds, and best odds means get the best weapons.
That's the 2 teams that even land near Shattered Slabs, and that's Death and Tahi that have that vault loot already. And if Degen and Muzz know it's there, they know to watch out. That one-shot potential can end your run in a singular second. And that's why you see them trying to break through. They're trying to get the piece control underneath their own as Degen kind of repositions. I don't think this is a fight they want to go ahead and continue to take.
No, the margin of error is so slim.
He doesn't even have a shotgun.
Not only that, they're in first place. There's quite literally no reason for them to fall this early in the game when you have an entire game of Fortnite in front of you. How much is that rifle worth to you? Not that much. They did just fine without it.
Yep. See if they can kind of perform with both the vault loot and the Rift Island. This is going to be something that's inevitable. It's Dragon and Elige. We saw them win their off-spawn exchange to start this game off. They got 8 more points to their total and quickly rotating from point A to point B, and always trying to gather that information of a team just trying to rotate for free on the outskirts. They're going to go ahead and land a couple of shots, but with so many superstars in this lobby, Kelly, I got to go ahead and throw it to you to go ahead and let us know what some of the other teams are doing.
Well, if we're talking about superstars, then of course we have to talk about the multi-regional champion Muzz, not only representing Oceania, but also a North American East champion, and now looking to claim his spot as the NA Central champion. And grabbing that first VR from game 1 is a great start to it. And with the zone pulling back again over to Shattered Slabs, game number 2 might be in their pocket.
It's an excellent breakdown there, right? And we did see they gave up the Rift Island. So they actually said, hey, listen, let's just get on out of there. Judging by the loadout, Ager's loadout did get a little bit better. He ends up a shotgun now. So at least there were some upgrades for them, but it's cost him so much. He hasn't quite found the material that he needed. They were already desperately trying to farm their way back in. Agers and Kanata right now are back in the round, though. They can fight back for this.
Yeah, two different teams now trying to make it a focus. But that north side, that team that was trying to focus them and make a mean sandwich, they get kind of fluid past on the other side, and it's forcing them to rotate. You don't want to be the team that falls behind on the congested part of the zone. And Agers and Kanata, they have so much to worry about. Storm Surge, matting up, getting resources, and rotating the zone. And that's why you see teams like Epicwell and Reet, they're flying above. They're trying to get there first so they can continue to gatekeep these teams out.
Yep. On free time, they may be friends, but here in this lobby, everyone is an enemy. Reet and Epic Whale right now have to really claw their way back from the gutters right now. They're currently standing in 29th place. The Surge is now active. Give it a second. Let that number on the side upgrade. Wow. There it is. We see it. 53 below. Once again, for this second time in a row now, unexpected to us, Epic Whale and Reet find themselves under the Storm Surge.
Similar zones in back-to-back games, forcing this team to move from Mega City to the west. And you talked about these champions, not Acorn and Cold, but Bolts and Thoric. The reigning champions from the former NA West region before we combine into just NA, and the shots are firing through. Reet's trying to escape, but he goes down. That leaves a lot of pressure on Epicwell, and you can see he's not rotating straight to be the savior. He's just trying to stay alive. You got Bolt and Thoric on one side, Yamzo and Rise on the other, and a whole nother team right in front of them. So Epicwell, as a solo, definitely has his work cut out for him.
Man, the struggle that he is on right now, you can see it playing out. Yes, he finds his tag, but he is a man down. He take this fight by himself. Potentially, I think he's eyeing out Larson. I believe he thinks he's a solo. And he's feeling competitive enough to go in and push forward. Doesn't quite find him. Almost caught him there. And now things start to slow down. He did hear one splash go down. Yep, that's going to be enough for him to pump the brakes here. Sees that there's a player also inside the building. He is surrounded. Danger everywhere.
Yeah, they know somebody else is there. That's Larson and User. They were the ones who took down Yamzo literally just seconds ago, and that's why you see Rise just trying to hide, minimize the amount of audio cues that he has given up to try to stay alive. These solo points mean so much in a two-day tournament. And that's exactly why you see Agers literally flying around the map as a solo just to get Kanata back, not once, but two different times in the same game. If they're able to pull off a victory royale, I feel like that might be history in the making.
I've been talking about it. They could be one of the first teams to ever take a team down. But Quanti finds Agers and Kanata charging up that kinetic blade. Kanata gets crushed on the way out, and Agers sticks behind to play defense here and fend off Quanti. He has put down enough tags. He might just get it. Yes, there it is. The Siphon is going to keep him alive. They much needed this loot. Oh my gosh, what a pickup that was. It might have been actually the best ambush that could have happened to them because Quanti was a literal loot llama.
You gotta go ahead and give a little bit of credit, though.
That was crazy.
That augment, the mythic munitions. So even though Ager was down on loot, he was able to get that mythical tactical pistol and already putting it to use because that one broke through the cover and started off a lot of that damage. As Epicwell, 6 total FNCS champions, most of any player here in this lobby. This is what somebody is made of. This is what makes somebody a champion. And all these points that Epicwell could potentially pick up as a solo is really going to mean the difference from a team which are backs up against the wall with only 2 games played and a team that has a little bit more comfortability on their side.
I mean, there's an apple there. I don't know what you want to do with that, Epicwell.
Apple day keeps the doctor away.
Take it. Do something. I don't know, dude. He's got a lot of space here. Just a single wood piece of build to work with now. And it is a tough position to be in. It was Kanata and Agers who just slid in from outside the zone. Man, Kanata must be scratching his head here at, is he lucky or unlucky? I don't know, right? Is he having one of the toughest games or one of the greatest games? The fact that he is back in it and able to have a chance at maintaining the top 5. I didn't expect him to be doing this well, but look, they are at now 3 eliminations.
Yeah, that's huge because I said it in game 1. Kanata, probably one of the best solo players in the game. Agers say, yo, hold on, hold my slurp juice. You are not going to just disrespect me like that. And then he now is making solo play after solo play. Surprising, though, that they are kind of close, even down on Surge, flirting with that line, even though they have 3 eliminations, just goes to show that everybody in this lobby may not be the healthiest at this stage of the game.
Yep, for sure. There it is. Surge is going to get active. To conclude the story, though, Pollo does take out Epic Whale, so he is now down and out. One less big team to worry about. Let's jump on over to Duke, who now has found himself pretty much trailing in the lead here. Another big game for them. 5 eliminations, and we're only just now getting to this end game here. Good chunk of teams do have to fall before we hit that next placement threshold, but we are getting very close now.
Team that, honestly, you got to expect them to perform. At almost every stage of the game, it's just about consistency that comes out for them. You saw them place at the top of the leaderboard in that first game. That's the amount of confidence that you can hold on from one game to the next. It's Jeff and Rapid. They don't have any eliminations yet. They're 107 below the damage threshold, trying to take advantage of anybody flying through the sky, trying to get in the zone, even if that is going to be Booga. They spotted him out as a solo. Now they're trying to close the distance and take advantage while they can. The harder this one gets is when everybody is close together. But you see they've got the farthest pull of the zone. It's now or never for them.
I was going to ask you, what do you think about that? They've gone the complete opposite way.
Hey, that could be a blessing in disguise, because while that whole right side of the map is so congested, it's hard to go through, the left side doesn't have that many people, but it makes it easier to spot people when you look back. And Jeff was on the receiving end of so much damage, but it's a trade for him. That's the way he's viewing it. Still 12 damage to go. He's 168 now, thanks to Rapid finding a couple of shots on the other side. But with everybody already beginning to rotate, that's going to put them in such a tricky position of when and where they're going to find their own rotation.
I will say you love to see both pairs or sides of the duo putting up the numbers and performing. Jumping on into Tahi and Def here. 2 eliminations for them right now. It's a very tight spot to be in here. They're very much below the Surge. Shots are coming in as well. That's only the beginning of their troubles here as the dust starts to settle. Thoric is going to fall to Sphinx there. Batch finds one too, so big fights going on here. Tahi reacts, though, onto Pump. Pump thought he was going to get himself a nice little tag there. No, sir.
Yeah, it's one you don't expect for somebody to have, that Mythic Havoc Pump, the one-shot potential. Trashy daring enough to try to peek back. A trade-in shot's going to come through, but now he's on the advantage side as he takes down Tahi as well. That's going to be a huge elimination, because not only is he able to get Pump back into the game, he got himself his own Mythic Havoc.
That was good, though. You know, Trashy, Pump, the way they played this one out. Yeah, Pump got hurt, but he calls it. He said, nah, bro, finish him. That was a lucky shot. Don't worry about it. That was pretty crazy. Let's jump into Clarity G. Casker here, finding themselves in the line of sight of Batman Booga here. They just lice him up just like that, and Batman Booga, no, scratches the head. Tough. Getting caught out on a rotate right now. Tough position to be in. You hate to get laced up like that.
Yep, from Batman Booga, though, to Booga himself. Him in threats. Just going through 54 points so far. Mythic munitions as well. And that's a great chance to really find the Surge that you're looking for. Even though they're already above, you're able to fire shot after shot after shot and just laser people out of the sky. Even though Booga's going to try to lead the charge, leave threats to deal all the damage as Kanata is down. Ager's once again by himself. But honestly, Kanata said it himself a few seasons ago in an interview. I love my teammate. He can pop off. I have all the trust in the world. And now he's going to have to trust him again.
And we're really seeing it play out right now. And not only that, Kanata, he was brought back, finds an elimination before getting taken out again there too. So this is now 4 elims for them. They're right back into the game, but still below that Storm Surge threshold. This could be the thing that topples them over. It really could be now. We've seen them overcome mountain after mountain, but how many times can they jump this hurdle? How much stamina do they have? Ager's here, looking to battle out. Eyes up, high ground says, wait, that's just one player. Thinks about it, misses though. They don't build out in front of him, and he does touch down just in time to go in and heal up. But let's jump to Fat. Let's jump to Pam still. The French Canadians are here.
Already popping off in game number 1, trying to have that repeat performance. Over 600 above, and immediately trying to get to the front side of zone as Agers goes down to a Liege. Acorn and Cold, they're able to take down a Liege himself, leaving Dragon as a solo. And finally, they're proven they are the team to beat, but they still got more to do. Cold gets chunked out. Acorn has to be the IGL and lead the way and allow for Cold to buy some time and stabilize himself in this position. That's already going to come to fruition as Duke also by himself, trying to look to the backside of the zone, trying to catch anybody off guard, but he doesn't necessarily need this elimination. It's information that's important to him.
On high ground, Booga and Threats get taken out, though, and the flare guns are going out as well, so the information is given out to the lobby here. Bryce, Chubbs on an ultimate low here, trying to size their way around the sides here. Threats and Booga have to fight back for it. It's a battle for high ground, and they do manage to maintain some positioning, but they are punished in the process. What could have been a win was fought back from Zypha in on one. The West crew is here and ready to fight. Duke finds Bucky there, and the full finish too. Make that 7 for him now.
At least them, they have Okus trying to stay alive and capture some points. Cold goes down to Poyo. That's going to leave Acorn by himself, but we know he was already in shambles, so it might be a blessing in disguise for allow Cold, or Acorn, I should say, that freedom to move around as a solo where you don't have to worry about anybody else. Clarity, Caskers, they get sent back to the lobby, and Poyo, who week after week, all 3 weekly finals, has been surprising us with him in Sphinx, but now he still has some more to prove as a solo.
Big names under the belt there, but Pamsto is now by himself too. No teammate inside here. Elevation's looking a little spooky here. He's like, I gotta get down, but I don't want to be the first to touch down. Acorn tries to go for it, gets caught on the way on down. It's swatted out the sky there by the hands of Bryce here, and Duke, another solo. Look at this, 11 players up, 8 duos. There are all types of solos here in play right now.
Yeah, this is huge though for Duke, because you saw him at the top of the leaderboard in that last game, get a good spot. Now he's trying to do it again. Him and Edgy, they need this. Booga drops down low. We saw them get up high very, very early on with very, very little help to work with. Threads gets tossed toward the backside, but Booga's going to solidify himself into the top 4. Can he go even farther into this game? Miro's right above. A huge tag's going to come through. Our final 2 teams, Duke's by himself, tries to chop down Bryce. Chubbs is underneath as well. They're trying to make a Duke sandwich as he's trying to get out alive. Bryce kinetic blades up. He takes a lot of damage to the storm. Duke can do it. A knock's going to go through, but it's not enough. Duke goes down. Bryce and Chubbs take game 2.
That was crazy. For a moment there, it could have been his, but Chubbs managed to do just enough damage for Bryce to go ahead and finish things up with a 1 top there. What a game that was, and a ridiculous exchange of hands, I may add.
Yeah, it was kind of going to show that Chubbs and Bryce, even though they might not necessarily be the most known, they might not necessarily be seen as the superstars of the region, that means absolutely nothing to them, because whether they're going to take it by storm, take it by surprise, they're going to take it no matter what.
It's crazy because it could have ended right there. Bryce and Chubbs had a moment to fight back, and they took advantage of it. They found Booga too. What a way for them to close it out.
Yep, with after 2 games, the leaderboard is already being shaken up. And Zeke, we need you, man. We need you to make some sense of this.
Listen, Jacob, for a moment there, I just blinked and I feel like I missed it, you know? Chubbs was just smooth, dude. This guy was slick with it, just boom. Kinetic blade, boom, boom. Eliminations left, right, and center. But for Bryce and Chubbs, hey, a victory royale and 8 eliminations, Vivid, on a stage like this, with a caliber of duos like this.
Yeah.
Statement.
Well, we actually saw Booga and Threats were on the high ground, and then they got shot out. And I feel like, Bryce and Chubbs, they just took full advantage of that, ended up on the higher ground. Since it was so late when they actually were able to get up onto that layer, they were just able to build out for the rest of the lobby, let everybody else fight. And it was close there at the end. I think both of them collectively had like less than 100 HP, and Duke was alive, almost, giving him the chance to 1v2 them. But there you have it. They're just built all the way up here, waiting for everybody else to kind of fight it out on the low ground.
You were saying, too, like, if you blink, you're going to miss it. We could just see in this replay, Chubbs' eyes was locked on everybody. I mean, just literally could see where everybody was very aware of where all the players were, and was getting elimination back to back to back. It was very cool to see, but if you look too quick, you're going to miss it. So I'm excited to, I'm so pumped that they were able to perform so well. They weren't some of the top teams we talked about, but again, we can have some really big performances from some of the underdogs.
Yeah, I like that, and that's kind of where I'm at as well, right? A lot of these higher profile duos we're just used to seeing haven't quite come online just yet. Now, this is only game 2. We have 12 total, right? But still, when we look at the standings, I feel like this is kind of starting to paint a little bit of a picture for us. Take a look here. Dukes and Edgy, they are now in that #1 spot. Now, for Bryce and Chubbs, they're up 9 places after that single game, right? Those eliminations, look at this, 12, Vivid, those are extremely valuable.
Yeah, 12, but somebody who has even more, getting more value out of the eliminations, 4 points each, going to be Duke and Edgy. And, I feel like it's just all about momentum when it comes to the all-spawn situation, you know, we didn't really get to see much of it actually unfold that game. They like left their spawn with 4 eliminations somehow. Not really sure like what's going on. I knew that the south side of the map was going to be like this fest where people were trying to steal loot from people. And right now, Duke and Edgy aren't having any of it, and they're just eliminating anybody who kind of dares to do that.
I love the aggression that we're seeing from them in a positive way again, because they're not making you know, they're making very smart decisions in rotates, and again, like we can just see this. The way that they play this game is so intelligent, so smart, and that's why we've seen them on the screen so much recently. Like Jacob has been talking about them, and I honestly think that they're going to continue to keep talking about them, and we'll see a lot more highlights from them in the future.
Yeah, of course, you know, a lot of these eliminations coming from Duke himself as a solo. Those solo performances mean so much when it comes to these FNCS lobbies.
That almost went a different direction.
Exactly,
as well.
yeah.
Right.
Duke almost did pull that off. And for him and Edgy, like Edgy looking for that FNCS title, to be where they are, we just have to hope that that momentum continues. I do want to continue looking down the standings of someone like Hamster and Fetch. I mean, these guys are some of the most wholesome players on the scene here in NA. To see them in that 3rd place spot, up to 7 placements as well, you just need one good game, right? And then you could be looking to contest for those top 3 spots.
Yeah, and a team that, you know, can definitely have those pop-off games is going to be Booga and Threats, up 7 places as well, finding themselves in the top 5. Now, that game was really, really good for them. They had this 8th zone rotation where they found the dead side on the west side of the zone, were able to make that rotate, you know, pretty much just free. And then when they got through that rotate, they pretty much just built up on the high ground, which you can see that position right here, right now, also using that mythic pistol to get some tags in. Unfortunately for them, though, they did get chopped out here. They were probably going to win this game if this didn't actually happen to them. Nonetheless, though, still a good game from them.
I was gonna mention that. Yeah, getting chopped out. It's just it's unfortunate and it happens. Yeah. But again, if they can figure out the perfect time to take that height in these future games, I'm curious to see if they will continue going for height, if they'll play mid ground. What do you think, David?
Yeah, and if it's anything that we know about NA throughout this season, throughout the weeks, it's that they have been more, you know, potent to actually shoot towards some of those teams that are building those high ground layers. Of course, this season has just been about just the floor and the cone, basically. So a lot of these teams are really, really easy to shoot out. Just a matter of somebody's going to do it or not. That game, somebody did it.
You know, as we kind of continue this conversation of moving up, one quick one, Acorn Cold. Suddenly, in that top 10, up 19 places. Now, really quickly, we want to highlight some of the Storm Surge situations we're seeing develop here. Ceice, we had an opportunity to talk to him at the very beginning of the show, and I don't even know that I want to call this Storm Surge. It's more like Storm Sickness, Vivid.
This is like dancing around the lobby, right? We're going to take a look at some of their positions when it comes to the early game. Of course, you know, this season has developed so many times. The meta has changed. And one thing that this season kind of started off with is that you didn't want to stay in the Storm because, you know, winning these games required you to heal off. So if you took a lot of Storm damage, then you would get Storm Sickness. But take a look at Ceice and Tragic, knowing the meta very, very well, landing all the way over at Brutal Bastion and just staying there, right? Like all of these teams are making the rotates in, and they're just like, nah, we're fine. You might be like, all right, well, they're going to white line at the zone, right? They got to get the zone. No, they're still going to just go out pretty much even further in the zone. And the key thing here is that they're going from Brutal Bastion. They can go into the vault, get a lot of heals. They can go over to a big POI like the Citadel, get more heals to stay out in the zone. And then finally, we'll see them actually start to make their way into the zone. And look at this. They avoid the congested side. If they would have went in directly white lining it over on that east side, look how many teams they would have been next to. Now coming in over here, just a couple to deal with.
Yeah, and it is very interesting because, again, like we talked to him and he was very confident about their strategies and their gameplay coming into this. So I'm sure that they have a reasoning for this, and maybe we'll see it in these coming up games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, I don't know that it's Storm Surge, more of a Storm Sickness, but it's working, right? And with 10 more games to go, maybe they can make something huge happen here. Whew. I feel like the first 2 games, now we started to bring up the heat a little bit.
Yeah.
Anything you're hoping to see moving forward, Vivid?
You know, Cold got 5 eliminations that game. Acorn doing his thing, solo impact points. More of that.
I'd love to see it.
I'd love to see it. Agreed. Yeah, I just want to see these teams to continue to put their foot forward and put up the best performance they have.
Hey, it's now or never because we're drawing ever closer to the conclusion of Major number 2. But we have more games. I want to watch more Fortnite, and I know you do as well. So let's get back to all of the action. This is Game 3.
That's right. It's Grand Finals weekend. 2 games down. Another one is up to be served here next. We are inching our way towards crowning some new folks, not only the FNCS champions, but of course, potential advocates for the globals.
3 spots up for grabs. That's what you're referring to, Monster. And third game is ready. That's a bunch of 3s here today, and hopefully one of these teams can really step up to the plate. We've seen a lot of consistency so far. Duke and Edgy, Bryce and Chubbs, Pamstu and Fatch. Somebody has to start to slow these guys down and take their own game under control as much as possible. You don't want to end up down on the leaderboard day 2, forced to get eliminations to make up for lost time. And already you see our game number 2 victory royale winners, Bryce and Chubbs, uncontested over towards the split drop just outside of Breakwater Bay.
You know, it's crazy. They won that game, and I just completely, and I mean completely forgot. They contested the well-performing Shadow and Paper. Even after falling in that last game, they maintain a top 9. This is such... you know, again, already a story that I wanted to see play out and go in the favors Kanata and Ager. But the wrench that was thrown in game 2, Bucky sliding up and quite literally cleaning up Agers and Kanata there, forcing them out of the drop, taking advantage of their POI and sniping all the loot. And they still did so well. And now Kanata and Agers get the 2 elims that they were looking for, and they are able to finally loot.
Gonna give themselves a lot of time to work with this time around. That's a blessing for them as on one Zypha. They bless themselves once more. Another off-spawn exchange, and that's the thing. On one, his former teammate Baka. Look at this, going into the FNCS Invitational, they had a drop spot in Southern on the map. The day of the event, they switch it up all together, they contest, and they were one of the highest placing NA West teams.
Let me just tell you a little story about On One as well. I walked up to him, he's like looking around the lobby. He says, yo, Malibuka, let's fight. They load up, they go head to head. He's like, yo, this kid's crazy. He's just there, ready to take on literally anyone, showing them like, put some respect on us. We're here. Yeah, I'm a controller player, but I'm gonna show you how good I am. And it was insane. We had some ridiculous fun head-to-heads. You can find the clips online, trust. But let's jump into this. We have Trashy, Pump, eyeing up Qua and Jock right now, who's having a hard time as Pump's already pressuring the walls here. I like this little pincer maneuver they're trying to work out here, but yeah, you can see Pump's gonna get punished there. I think it's TK and crew also firing in from behind, so a lot of eyes here. It's not a completely safe 2-on-2, but for now, it's Jock and Qua, who I think have the advantage here.
So they've earned it, taking down both Trashy and Pump at this stage. And this is big for them. They gotta start to get that ball rolling. Even though there is 12 games spread out between 2 days, the farther you are on the leaderboard going into day number 2, you have to make up for that lost time. Just like Yamzo and Rise, not necessarily having the best 2 games in which they know they can have. That's why here, before the halfway point, they're gonna try to turn it up a notch. They gotta perform here. It starts with this battle against Nick and Nix.
See Yamzo and Rise right now, looking for the walls here. Not only taking, of course, the material gains, but an advantage of the surrounding area. There it is, the double shotgun shot. The wall falls pretty quickly there. Nix and Nick here already lost this battle once in game 2. Learning, adjusting here, being a little bit sharper with the counter fire. What a great find, too. The chest there to give them the option, the Havoc shotgun there. Of course, the material that comes out of it as well is just a great pickup.
Resource management is huge in an off-spawn fight like this, but you gotta watch out. And the third party is coming in. That's Bucky and Okus over towards the outside. You saw what they did last game to Kanata and Agers. They're looking to repeat that to another team. And as Yamzo catches Nick off guard, that's going to be a huge cleanup, but time is running out. They need to be able to get the next one, and they do. Down goes Nix, but in the distance, we talked about it, Bucky and Okus, they're right there on the other side of that mountain.
I'm happy Yamzo hit that shot. I was like moments away from downplaying the combat, but he says, give me a second. Let me show you what we can do with that. We jump on over to a battle in action. Forget the ambush. We have Aiden and Hound right now. Huge tags already to open things up here. The focus, the game face here. The comms are coming out, and Aiden's communicating excellently here, but Hound is in trouble. Tries to come to the rescue of his teammate. There it is. Puts down the big heals here. Zone starting to slide in now as well. If it already wasn't trouble for Paper and Shadow with Bryson Chubbs here, who is currently in first place, by the way. Now they have the Storm on top of them and a fresh duo.
Yeah, there's a 3 stack of teams here, and the shots you saw moments ago coming in from what some would think is a third party. It was actually a fourth party. It was Clarity and Caskers that land actually at Breakwater Bay. You see them right there, their mini-map, that little bit of an arrow. They still are looking out there. That's a huge opportunity for them to take advantage of early game Storm Surge and all these teams that are being held out. And already you see Chubbs, Bryce, you talked about them being contested for Paper and Shadow. They're going ahead and trying to move north. For a lot of these teams, early game Surge really kind of shows and puts your path right in front of you for the rest of the game, because if you're down on Surge, you didn't find it, well, you're going to have to get that Surge regardless.
That is right. Surge is extremely important. And it's not just physically heating up here in the studio. It's heating up on this field right now. Chubbs is hurt as he gets tagged by the duo that is rotating out right there, Hound and Crew. Then you still have Paper and Shadow sitting underneath you. They are likely and willing to sit in the storm for as long as possible because they have to survive this game. They cannot sit another round out. They've already given up game 2 by dropping earlier than expected.
And this is a big fight that they just finished up from Polarize and Endpen. He got 3 eliminations. I need to figure out how he got those eliminations. Well, here goes number 1. Down goes DeQuinton. Soneto is on the other side, and Polarize not backing down. So there goes number 2. Stack them up. You can knock them down, and then the former NA West champions are going to be on the receiving end of a monster shot. Down goes Thoric. That is just huge, and obviously Endpen got an elimination. That was Bolts as well, so 2 teams in the blink of an eye just went out.
And it's insane because we saw what especially Thoric and Bolts were capable of. Surge Week was just a sample of the highlights they were adding to the reels here. But let's get involved right now with Duke and Edgy, our current first place leaders. 176 overall points right now, leading by quite a fair margin as you start to break past second there. They're about a game and a half or so ahead of the competition.
Yep, I mean, we've seen it from Queasy and Vino over on the EU side of things, and they're looking to be the team over on NA to have such a monster lead for themselves. Batman, Booga, and Bacon. They're a team. When they're able to get things going, it is like a freight train. They are hard to stop, but until that point happens, they're just kind of an up and down, a roller coaster of emotions as DJ and Muzz, the victory rouse in game number 1. But just like in that Cash Cup yesterday, they gave themselves a very, very early lead on the leaderboard. They just were unable to hold on to it. So I'm just hoping that was a kind of a bittersweet feeling. Didn't perform well in that duo Cash Cup, but you're able to kind of adapt and fix your mistakes on the day that matters most.
I agree. You have to fix your mistakes in real time. You don't have many chances to do so otherwise. We are in game 3 here. Literally, after this moment, we'll be past the halfway mark. When you're having fun, time flies. Again, Muzz and DJ did take that first game. They are already feeling themselves up right here. They picked up a win today.
Yep. Even though they did know a solo was kind of there, I mean, they got the first elimination. They're just not getting greedy. They know they're already deep in the zone. They can't go ahead and sacrifice it. User and Jamper, 96 points. This duo is performing exceptionally well on the day, and already with Mason going out, not getting knocked, you know, him and Scope are back to the lobby.
Yeah, big pickup right there. Eases things up. Recently browsing Twitter, looking at Scope, post some clips up, and my gosh, the chain of headshots this man put just recently makes you really wonder if you have good aim or not. You start to weigh up the competition, but Jamper right now tagged on a rotate here. Eyes on sight of Casker, Clarity G. You can see the chug barrel animation leaking through the wall there of Casker. That just means he's sitting there, he's healing right now. He's willing to take these trades, these open exchanges. If anything, he's actually asking for you to look in and shoot.
Wow. Both games today were won by teams without a victory royale during the weekly finals. It just goes to show that sometimes those are just proving grounds. Those are lessons being learned day after day and game after game. But in the first 2 of today's games, we had southwest zones where we're going to pull a complete 180. We're going north for the winner with an eastern lean on.
Well, if you think back to majority of the interviews we've had with professional players, they quite literally say, hey, listen, I love finals lobbies. It's just different.
Yeah.
It's honestly easier for some. They just perform better when the stakes are the same and they know exactly who's in their surrounding environment. So preparation goes a long way. It's no surprise, I think, that the sample size of wins are starting to open up now as we're getting to these finals lobbies. Let's jump in with Lawrence and hide and seek here, though. We were hyping up hide and seek earlier as, again, an individual alongside Lawrence who have really, really found their stride in the recent weeks here.
So
Find their way all the way through to the most difficult North American lobby to date.
yeah, both of these teams kind of looking out for each other. Macwood, Commandment, Seek, and Lawrence. They got the zone for now. The only question mark is how much surge do they actually have? And if they have it, they really got a sense of comfortability as they don't really have to rotate far. They don't got to be stuck behind everybody else. Like Visual and Braids, they're trying to beat other teams to the punch over on this eastern side because the more and more it does begin to pull, the more congested it is going to be and the harder it is for everybody to find a safe spot in zone.
In so many ways, Fortnite is so different today at the highest levels than it was at the earlier years, but in some ways it isn't. Single tower bases on positions of high ground has quite literally made its return in the recent chapter. Again, heavily to do with the influence of these red dots. This is just meta, right? This is literally the best strategies to position yourself to find tags, hit opponents, and of course put yourself in a position to be successful.
And you can see Tamso and Fat, they activated the early cache. They see it over on in the distance, and now they're trying to backtrack, trying to claim all the loot is theirs, but there's a team that's hot on the hills. That's on one. That's Zypha. Fatch looks back, spots him at the tail end. That is absolutely perfect timing for them because that is not a team you want to get surprised by. They know they like to fight, so if they find a way to get some early red-eye tags onto you, know they're going to close the distance and try to finish it off.
Biggest difference between the two, though, Fatch and Pamsu are the longest played together duo that we've seen today, going against some of the new freshly paired duos of Zypha and On1, so you got to be careful. Let's jump on with Jeff and Rapid here, who are inside the Mega City. One of the few teams here in the Mega City. Mega City is just, oh man, there's so much conversation surrounding the duos here, but I'm sure for Vert and Rokane as well. The big island, Rift Island, spawns right above them.
Just are they going to be the team that goes for it? They're the only team here now and already up. There's going to be Vert, first one to reach the top. And interesting enough, there are very, very few teams that can even contest it at this stage in the game because there's nobody in the distance. It's like they got themselves at center of their own zone. So the longer they can kind of position themselves there, the better it is going to be. And for Rokane, you look at his loot, those pulse rifles might be a must, especially if you depend on where they're at in terms of that storm surge, because now they have the highest elevation on the map.
That's right. We got a complete environment shift here. The last two games, southwest pulls. Now we getting up to this northeastern side, very far east as well. The true chance to start to pull as far as possible. But for us, though, we of course got to get caught up. Let's talk to Kelly. Kelly, fill us in.
Thank you so much, Monster. It's not too much of a surprise that one of the main factors of being a top player in Fortnite is being able to adjust to all of the patches. The most recent one taking away the ODM gear, one of the main modes of mobility. And we're seeing players like Knifer only able to find one kinetic blade out of their duo, and that's the same case for other duos as well. Both of these teams right here are landing on the northwest side, but we can see that this is an eastern polling zone. So this mobility is going to be a bit of an issue for both of them.
Thank you so much, Kelly. A lot of changes coming almost week after week. The players are kind of forced to adapt, especially when it comes to mobility. Kinetic blade is almost a must, especially when you do get these far pulls as Paper loses his teammate Shadow. Shots coming on right behind. That's a team that kind of looks like he's positioned on the highest mountain in the lobby. I called Rift Island the highest elevation. Well, they're trying to match that. You see the distance being closed over on the side. Paper has to keep things going. He's just getting chased down right now. He does have the flare gun to try to spot him out. That Scare Bear on the other side. A nice trade in shots for Paper. He's just trying to back down his opponent, buy himself time. He needs 10 seconds to get this med kit off. Scare Bear, he probably sees it, knows that he's trying to heal, stopping it right in its tracks yet again. And even though Scare Bear, he's not going in trying to trade shots, he's just trying to stop the med kit in itself.
Yeah, he's definitely timing out Paper right here. Gets the siphon, and the elimination off of Shadow. Looks down at Paper. He already got tagged once by Paper, and he didn't quite land a tag onto him. So he doesn't know really what the situation is here. Did he heal? You know, is he going to be a formidable opponent for me to finish off right now? Do we just take this W and back away? But
wow,
there it is, the white tag. Now, The deal has been sealed. Oh my God, I was gonna say, how do you survive that? Don't know, but all right, he finds the headshot, the follow-up comes in right afterwards. Moo and Scare Bear find themselves a nice.
Wow.
Elim lands right on Degen. What a surprise.
I think he was even surprised by that one. But his accuracy is out of this world. That's a monster of a shot. Because if he doesn't take out Degen's shield and HP right there, he's in a 2v1 against a team that's already won a game on the day. And you're seeing how the little differences, even when you're caught off guard, really make that much of an impact. Acorn and Cold making an impact in game number 2, jumping up 19 spots on that leaderboard. And this is a team that you can never count out. It doesn't matter where they're at the end of day 1. They always can climb back as Tahi, Death, they go down. That's Elite and Dragon who take them out. And honestly, if they had the loot that they usually get from Shattered Slabs, that was a huge victory for Dragon and Elise.
And you know Tahi and Death are just thinking, don't you just love when we're just trying to rotate to the safety and a team lands on you?
They did get it.
Dragon and Elise right here.
They got more than enough loot to work with. 241 above the damage threshold as well. So many teams looming in the distance. You already see the flare guns popping off like the 4th of July in the distance. Dragon luckily does find a med kit. It's at least something to work with as soon as he makes inside of zone. Heals are going to be a must, but he's going to have to do it by himself as Elise does get caught out so far back of zone. That's Cooper who's going to get credit for that elimination.
Let's watch it. He's going to find Bully here, lose Elise to the edge there on the rotate. Now left to play this one up by himself. Wants to secure the pickup here. There it is, finds himself some good loot. But things are gonna start to escalate pretty quickly here now. The congestion is really starting to show its face there. Degen and Muzz though, let's jump back on over. The team that was hit by the surprise fight before finds now the opportunity to take down Lawrence and Hide and Seek. Another team fires in and they actually pull zone as well. That's gonna be a sweet surprise as they're up here isolated already, taking on this 2-on-2. Big chance now for Muzz and Degen to really start to break away and catch up to those teams inside the top 10.
I don't know who that was over towards Lonely Labs, but they were that third party that you never want to invite to the party again. It was looking like it might have been Pars. Baka over on the other side. Finally, they showed themselves here in game number 3. I talked about them in the Duo Cash Cup last night. They won back-to-back victory royales. 10 eliminations, and 8. Kind of close it out. They got to figure out a way to channel that same style of play here in the finals. They definitely have more than enough games, though, to kind of figure it out.
That's right. I mean, we've been hyping up the fact that, you know, the difficulty of the lobbies are showing itself here in the FNCS, but yes, exactly, the Cash Cups as well. I saw a big exchange, though, in the feed there. Mero found Kanata. Oh, Kanata is down. Excellent timing to go ahead and jump on in here and get a little temperature check of what's going on right now. Kanata really has had an extremely difficult time in games 2 and now game 3. But all right, he's going to be able to get saved here. Look at this metal fortress they've managed to set themselves up for right here. So very good spot to be in.
Yeah, I saw Bucky and Okus once again. I'm actually loving Bucky and Okus this season, the way they're playing in the finals, because they're able to kind of flex. They go ahead and go after racetrack. They go towards the north. They take advantage of every single piece of information they hear, and they do it on the spot, much like Miro and Cooper. They're trying to take advantage of Zypha and on one, land some shots, drop them down into their box. When it comes to a refresh, it's not necessarily going to be a must. This is just something they want to go after. They see the loot on the other side, but Cooper gets boxed up. Miro's trying to be a hero and break him out over towards the other side. It's not going to come through just yet, but finally, Cooper is going to be able to escape. That was a close one. It had me on the edge of my seat.
Yeah, listen, anything can really happen in these types of moments. Like, it's even sometimes out of the player's hands, and you can see how difficult it really is right here as the exchanges start to go down. But Miro takes advantage. It looks like things are pretty settled for him. He's got the knock here. He's trying to inch his way in. He finds some beat there, and everything connects in a follow-up, too. And he's like, come here, boy. He snatches up the body. He is able to pick up the loot there, too. And just like that, they get the refresh they need.
I just remembered the good old Daquan days. Giving him toes. That's what exactly what he's shouting right now to get that elimination. Yeah. He snatched him up for sure. Bugha and Threats, even though they don't have any eliminations so far. That's part of their strategy. They go through the game, they get themselves a nice position, and they worry about storm surge. They know the later and later this game goes, those eliminations or the opportunity to get one is going to naturally present itself as the game goes on. They just need to be able to make it towards the end game. And even though they're not in the zone just yet, if you look at that 50-50, the longer this one takes, they could, in theory, zoom right past with those kinetic blades and get an uncontested spot in the zone.
That's right, but it's not going to be easy. You got Baka on high ground looking down here. Bugha and Threats managed to slip under their radar. Now they're playing themselves for the center of the zone, and this is actually a really great spot to be in. We saw what happened before as Commandment didn't realize how difficult it would be to fight through those walls there. Let's jump in with Bucky, though. We hyped him up. We hyped up Ocus. This is one of the few duos that is playing extremely flexible. No one strategy for them, and it's working well. They do have themselves quite the situation right now, right? They've been able to play into the end games for the most part the last couple rounds, and the points are starting to add up.
Yep, luckily for them, they're 149 above the damage threshold. They need to stay that way because Ocus, without a ton of HP, it's going to be hard for him to fight for it. He's just trying to hope, kind of scavenge anything that he can work with on the other side. They hear Bryce, they hear Chubbs, and that's why Bucky's trying to sneak around, but you have to be very, very careful because someone's going to pull again over towards the right side of Lonely Labs, up and down a lot of these buildings. So you got to be able to get as much information as you can from a lot of these teams, whether you're peeking through cones or using the flare gun. It is definitely going to be a must.
That's right, but Muzz and Degen 47 below the Storm Surge right now. The threshold, it's gonna be far and away here, and it's already active. Great tags right there. That should be enough to buy them a little bit of time, if not already. And there it is, but the rotate starts to come out. It's going even further. This is the furthest west pull we've seen on the day here. It was time to shake it up and mix it up, and this is it for Muzz and Degen. I mean, it doesn't matter, rain or shine, they're here to play. Muzz gets caught on the rotate there, but luckily was a tag away from being sent right back to the lobby.
This is definitely not the time to go down either. Placement points are barely starting to be awarded to anybody here still left in the lobby. Top 23 we go as Braids does get down. Baka and Pars, I talked about them, I highlight them. I'm a huge fan favorite. If anybody from the Western region, that is exactly where I'm from, hometown crowd, and that looking for a team like this to try to gain some elevation. Mimic what they've done on the day yesterday as they're trying to put pressure down from above. Once again, we're seeing another team utilize the mythic tactical pistol from the high ground. This is something we've seen last season as well.
That's right, for Duke and Edgy on the low ground here, though. They have a great situation in front of them, already marked out where this new zone's going to be. But let's talk about how difficult this rotate's going to be. It's not just going back across. It's going to cut across this open sea of water, the frigid waters right below them. And if you don't play this one smart, you're going to end up down low where material is going to really determine whether or not you're going to be able to claw your way back out. I expect the lobby to get cut down in full here, but Aegis and Kanata fight their way through first. This is by far the most resilient team, if you ask me.
Yeah, they're showing it to be true. Zypher on the other side. Zypher looking like he has just 1 HP. You breathe on him, he's going to go down. His Aegis are not to clean up that elimination. The Siphon's going to be there. You talked about the zone pulling on the cliffhanger, some would say, but if that one pulls back any direction, if you went ahead and dropped down low, you better have materials. You better have a kinetic blade. A trick up your sleeve is going to be a must because look at the lay of the land.
I think everyone knows the likelihood. It's not going to stay here either. It's probably going to go right back. Yep, there it is. We knew it. Usually, once it starts to ping pong like this, they get a little bit harder. And this is one of the more difficult zones to play out, but doesn't matter. All you have to do now is put up the performance. Duke finds himself a great find. Legendary Resurgence is going to be huge for him here. Gets tagged from the team on the flank in the tarp and fights his way on up, but he could not find any ground there. Misses the edit to get to his teammate, but he is back in position here. Edgy and Duke fighting for first place to continue their lead. Cold and Acorn are looking to change the conversation now and get themselves inside the top 10 here. They are poised to do so right now.
Yep, they've moved up 19 places in that last game, and look at their loot. They're the ones who found a way to get those pulse rivals, even though it don't have the one-shot mythic potential, they could definitely do so much damage in the blink of an eye as they're trying to take control of the pieces. They're backing down Bryce layer by layer, but attack coming from below. Coldfire's back, and he does such a great job fending off anybody in his path.
Chubbs and Bryce also one of those teams that were coming into this game inside that top 3 position, still fighting back, already at 3 elims, inching their way to top 10 right now. And what a rotate for them to slide on over. These kinetic blades truly change the game when you have the charges. And now they get to decide, can we go for hyper? No, Bryce gets caught trying to sneak up on the team. And what a shot, a flick there on the team falling low for Chubbs. He's gonna go in and pick himself up something, but Cold and Acorn now looking to situate themselves. They need a win under their belt to really jump back and truly make a statement.
He has splashes as well, so even when the zone does close, they have more than enough to work with. His Chubbs is a solo. That legendary slurp juice is gonna be all he has left. He's preemptively trying to pop, that way he can stagger himself outside of the zone and try to find a safe rotation like Threads, but he's gonna go down. Booga was lost early on. You talk about resiliency though, Kanata is gonna be the man you look at. 7 eliminations as a team, but he's running out of resources, but luckily for him, he got ahead of the zone, ahead of all the chaos, so he has to figure out what's his next move gonna be.
By far one of the most impressive as well. He's really trying to go ahead and get scrappy here. Chubbs now has a team on the backside, rotating behind him. He makes the edit there. That's what he's best at, opening up the wall, finding that quick tag, and converting there. But it matters now. What can he do here? He's got a moment of time here to break, get healthy.
Spots a beat below. He has that one-shot potential. Just needs to be able to catch somebody off guard. 1 build left to his name. Options running out. Kanata's down low. Yamzo's on the chase, so that's a big elimination. There's a mythic there, but Yamzo's not going to have some time to grab it. Taking so much damage. The Storm, and he goes down altogether. As Pars, he's trying to do it as a solo. He has an elimination, but you can see Cold Acorn, the only duo left in the lobby. But look who it is down low. It's Kanata yet again, holding strong for his team.
I was going to say, this is literally the story of solos plus Acorn, and now Kanata has a world of trouble on him. Acorn is here and ready to fight. Acorn's going to go in and, oh, okay, he's going to eliminate himself to give away the siphon. Cold's going to play it safe to make sure he gets the heal off. Kanata looking for Acorn there. He should be able to find the body potentially. I hope he does. It's worth points, right? It's not completely free, but in the end, Cold does clean things up, and they jump right back into the conversation.
I think it was Monster D-Face that said, hold up, let him cook. Cold won that one by a long shot. Even if Kanata was able to catch up, he had legendary slurp juices, he had splashes, and he's one of the best fighters in the game. That one sealed the deal, and they went up 19 places last game. Imagine them now.
Not only that, look at the way they were set up in that mid-game as they inched their way to the end game. They never looked back. The material lead was there. The conversions were there on the elimination, and they just kept picking up rack after rack, and all of a sudden they find themselves in high ground in the prime position, and Acorn was there by his side too, and it just never slowed down for them. We made the analogy before, it's a train on the tracks. They're pushing through any vehicle that falls in their way, and just like that, they pick up the dub.
Yeah, I don't know who took them out in game number 1, but the lobby needs your help yet again, because Acorn and Cold are beginning to run away with it just like they did last season.
That's right. Well, we got a lot to catch up here, so let's get the points.
Thank you guys so much. Acorn and Cold went into that game. Remember, they had jumped up 19 places. They were in that top 10. And now I'm curious to see where they might be on those standings. We got to give props where props are due, though. I love the play there. I love how the casters kind of called that out. You know, using the kinetic blade to go in the store, make sure I'm away from you. If you want this siphon, it's not going to go your way.
Bit of a surprise for me in that game out of Acorn and Cold there. Usually we see them dominating the lower ground, getting layers, kind of holding back, getting some refreshes on teams that are staggering themselves. They're on the high ground this game, which is very, very impressive. The reason why they were actually able to get it is because Bryce and Chubbs, we saw them try to go for it. As soon as they went for it, Acorn and Cold kind of went for it at the same time and ultimately just came out on top, had the high ground for the rest of the game, closed it out.
We talked about how good of an IGL Acorn truly is, and I really believe him just kinetic blading into the storm, taking that siphon away from Kanata just shows how much he thinks ahead, because we were all like, wait, what? And then we got it. But he just had, it's like one step ahead always. He's so good.
Absolutely wild. Yeah, just those little things. Remember, just making sure you can deny even that 50 HP, right? Though Cold had plenty of heals and Kanata didn't, you just want to make sure and lock that in, right? That is so expertly played from the duo. There's a lot of things that impress me in this game, especially now. You can definitely tell, Vivid, a lot of these duos, they're starting to quickly heat up.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the name of the game, right? Learning how some of these teams are landing. Maybe you came into this, you saw the job map, you're like, okay, this team's going to be landing here. Maybe they shifted a little bit, right? Learning some of their rotations as the games go on and adapting off of that.
And like you just pointed out too, like our winners, Acorn and Cold, they had to adapt and they changed. They're like, maybe low ground's not for me this game. We're going to take high ground. They made it happen.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at these standings together and see where Acorn and Cold are. From 10th place, up 6, in now that 4th place spot. Remember, Acorn and Cold, one of the two duos looking to defend their title. But when you look up just a little bit more, Aegis and Kanata, right? We saw Kanata in that late game. And it's kind of like a damage is done situation. Like, he didn't necessarily get the victory royale, but when you're ending the game in a 2nd place, you've got the consistency points.
This is crazy because, earlier on EU, we saw Malibuca and Thomas HC put up an 8th place after day 1 while they were contested at the racetrack. Kanata and Aegis also contested at the racetrack. They've made it off spawn every single game, and they're in 3rd place right now. I mean, this is just crazy stuff that's happening. How they're able to consistently win when the drop is seemingly a 50-50. That's what's impressing me the most.
They did have a little rough start in the earlier games with Kanata going down and Aegis having to pick up Kanata. But again, like you say, like if they are able to win off spawn, they can make it to these late games, and those points are just going to rack up.
All right, I have to talk about them. Duke and Edgy.
Yeah.
They're currently sitting in that #1 spot for now, right? And Edgy is, as Kelly pointed out last week, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, right? He keeps coming in that 2nd place, just missing out on the Axe of Champions. Vivid, how do they hold this #1 spot?
So really the thing is, I'm not sure how they're finding these eliminations, but so far we've had 3 games. Every single game, they've gotten elims at zone 1 or prior. So they're getting some very early elims on. And basically what that does for them, early Storm Surge, right? Because they have Storm Surge, they don't necessarily have to go for a position that is Storm Surge favorable. They can go for something that's a little bit more positional when it comes to some of these rotates. And I think that's really, really helping them make it to every single end game.
Yeah, and again, too, like, we talk about Storm Surge so much, but as you can see with that duo, it is so vital to make sure you take care of it before endgame.
Absolutely. Now, of course, this is just our insight. Why don't we get an insight from one of our very own community members? It is none other than Lash. Lash, it is fantastic to see you, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, and it's a pleasure to see y'all once again. We met the Invitational. Oh my goodness, good to be here.
Oh man, it's great to see you. So, bro, what is it? How are you finding these first few games in NA? Is there anything you're kind of seeing? Anything standing out to you so far?
I'm seeing low ground consistency. I mean, y'all just mentioned it. Edgy and Duke taking over. I mean, the same exact solo play style coming in from Duke that we've seen at the Invitational as well as Grand Royale, and then Edgy coming through with that low ground positioning. Beautiful.
Yeah, of course, we do have Duke and Edgy in 1st place now. But if you yourself had to make a prediction, who do you think is going to take the whole thing?
Listen, they just took the Victory Royale. I'm going Acorn and Cold.
Okay.
Dang, Vivid, that took my question out of my mouth. I love your insight, but here, give me this. What, if you were playing currently, what is a tactic that you feel is very vital to these teams?
I'm going straight for that Tracker's Armory. Now, that's been coming in massively, not only on EU, but also today on NA. High ground utilizing that pistol has been insane, as well as I saw a little bit of a play there from Acorn, taking the flare gun and shooting it down below, doing 60 damage. Insane.
So good. I'm telling y'all at home, if y'all don't know about Lash, y'all need to go follow this man right now.
Fact.
Lash, where can they find you?
Hey, at Caster Lash on every single platform. And as you notice in the beginning of the name, Caster, you'll see everything that you see and like on this stage, and you'll be able to get all that content on my end.
Absolutely. Well, Lash, thank you so much. We appreciate you stopping by. We hope to catch you a little later on.
Thank y'all.
Lash, one of the best in the business. I'm telling you, his breakdowns are absolutely insane. They're next level in a lot of ways. So make sure you guys take a second, stop by, check them out. Only a handful of games here left to go on this first day. I feel like we've watched like 1,000 games, but it's only been a handful. Do we need to do anything different, or just ready to run this back?
Bugha and Threats, they've got some of those dead side rotations down. More of that from them. They're doing good.
I just want to see more gameplay. Let's run it, Zeke.
You know what? Let's run it then. Right now, game number 4 starts. This is the FNCS.
with 3 games done and 3 left to go, we are halfway throughout the days of games, but only 25% of the way done throughout the competition, Monster. What have you noticed so far from some of our competitors?
I mean, what we're seeing is Kanata, Agers really putting up the conversation today. Contested teams can do well, and of course, the comeback story for Acorn and Cold. So far, it is now beginning to develop for them. Finally, they're finding their bearings. It was looking a little rocky, and usually the caster's curse takes place a little late into the show, right? The late running, and then all of a sudden you get knocked over, but Acorn and Cold almost got caught slipping, but they're back in it. But let's take a look here. It's game 4 time. We're in the back half of it. These are what we start to call the champion rounds, right? We're in the late half.
Yep, we already saw one time before already, the 50-50 going out. Bryce, it does look like they're gonna win it yet again. They get that twin mag SMG, take down Paper, and now they're on the hunt. They know Shadow is nearby. They want to be able to kind of take this team out together. They don't want to have to worry about anybody sneaking around and possibly putting an end to their game. Bryce?
That's right. And now this is a 2-day competition here, so of course, what happens now can also happen tomorrow. You have to make your adjustments. You have to figure out how you can fight your way through. Bryce and Chubbs.
Uh-oh.
This was a big fight, but this is huge.
Yeah, this is big for Duke and Edgy to keep their consistency up. You see them at 210 points, just 5 points away from first place. They're able to get 1 elimination. Diego's trying to fight back, but it's big boy Duke yet again. 2 eliminations for Dignitas. Everybody there that is in that house, kind of landing it up together, are probably cheering every single time anybody gets elimination on the Dig team.
Hey, man, shout out to Dignitas. Definitely put in the money to snipe up some of the best on the space here. By far, have the strongest roster available on the N8 region currently. Let's just go ahead and continue to get caught up, though. This game's really starting to pick up. We're already at 82 out of 100 for game 4. Sprite and Giants finally get to swing things around. They drop Kanata and Agers, and just like that, momentum gained, momentum lost. Sprite and Giants finally find themselves on the winning side there. So 3rd place out of the competition that early.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough because we're kind of talking them up. Kanata and Agers, how well they're performing on the day. And it starts right here at the racetrack. They're able to kind of win their fights against both Sprite and Giants, or unless that one game where Agers was traveling around the world. But it just goes to show that all it takes is 1 game for you to kind of lose your steps. So my question for them as they sit in the lobby for now is, how mentally tough are they?
It's very clear that Kanata and Agers can absolutely win an FNCS. It's very, very clear. Unfortunately, this time around, they have their problems and troubles cut out for them. Buga regrets that problem is not the same. They have a completely different issue. It's the fact that the zone landed on top of them. This will start to adjust things for them, but now you'll have less teams rotating in their vicinity. So playing this one out, I find that can be a little bit tougher for those players, especially when it pulls this far south. But we'll see if Storm Surge becomes an issue for them this game. For Rituals and TK, here's the team that has no trouble taking any fights. Very decent, and most of the times we've seen them kind of on the 50-50 side. They win some, they lose some, but right now they're just looking for the ambush.
Yeah, so far, the trend over towards Naughty Nuts hasn't necessarily been put it all on the line for a 50-50. Most of the times, these guys are disengaging, grabbing their loot on the respective sides of Naughty Nuts and going their separate ways. Over towards the south, you already see Larson and User slowly but surely rotating on out, kind of leaving everything else for both Ritual and TK. And they're leaving a good amount of loot because that is one of the hot drops. There's a lot of heals to be grabbed over still on Naughty Nuts.
Absolutely. Jumping with Acorn and Cold, who've climbed their way right back out of the gutters here. Now picking themselves into that top 5 conversation. Acorn with the excellent play in game 3. The little plays to go ahead and deny an elimination to Kanata, so he doesn't increase the chance at him having more heals than, of course, his teammate Cold. But what we've seen so far from them really has been an uptrend, an uptick for Acorn and Cold. Exactly what we expect. Muzz and Degen, a surprising game 1 victory, still meaning to maintain their position so far, kind of in the conversation here inside that top 10.
Do you think it's interesting that they're kind of conceding the vault game after game to Death and Tahi? Do you think they're going to change that up at any point throughout the weekend?
I think the thing is, after they pick up that first win, they realize, and they probably gave themselves the utmost confidence, we do not need the Volt to win. It is not worth that much to us. And when you start to do that, you can see confidence adjust everything. And they're still inside the top 10 without it. So I don't see them really changing that too much. Now, do they plant some ambushes? Do they try to capitalize on some early elims? That's a potential.
Yep, definitely. Something that we're kind of looking out for here throughout the day. Batman, Booga, and Bacon. And that's going to be like a huge switch up. We always talk about the surprise contested, getting contested, what a team can do overall. If you're planning to be contested and that being a main part of your Storm Surge, a team like Batman, Booga, and Bacon, they're probably off to a slow start simply because of that. They hadn't planned too much to be uncontested, so now they're kind of looking on the fly to figure out where are they going to get that Storm Surge from. But with so much action going on, we're going to throw it over to an analyst, Vivid, to break down some of the action that we've seen around the map.
Hey, we're going to be seeing Sprite and Giants for the first time today as they take down Kanata and Agers. With this racetrack split, so many teams like the land here because it does have that double kinetic blade spawn right to the west. But when you're contested at the racetrack, it is so annoying to have one of these teams come over and steal them. And in this case, it's going to be Okus and usually Bucky as well. Both of the players on this duo have the kinetic blades. I'll have to see if they can do good this game.
Already, you're kind of seeing it, thanks to Vivid, what their plan was. They didn't even land at that trailer park gas station split. They went straight for the kinetic blades, knowing that Kanata and Agers, Sprite and Giants are going to go at it game after game off spawn. So those are just two kinetic blades that they're stealing away from anybody at the racetrack.
And that's the wildest part, because it is quite literally the reason you contest the drop. So the irony that you fight for the drop, you don't even get the best loot. Oh man, very, very tough, but we hop in, shows us a little story. Bucky is down, so even with the kinetic blades, there's a story unfolding there. Let's jump in with Zypha and On1, who seem to have a team eyeing them up over at the Frenzy there. It's not looking like it's going to be a simple rotate, as the zone is now on top of them.
I like the feeling right now that I'm getting from Zypha and On1. You can see that they both have an elimination each so far. So when it comes to that early game Storm Surge, it's probably not so much of a worry. And now you combine that with the fact that Zone did pull south, it has an eastern lean, and that's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to go ahead and use the storm, ride it towards the south, and hopefully get into the, what some would say, the least congested part of the zone to try to find a safer route towards the end game.
That's right, and it's going to go a little further east here as well. A good chunk of it being inside the water, so what's going to happen now is that we are going to have some heavy congestion happening. I mean, if you've ever rode the subways in NYC, yeah, get ready to be shoulder to shoulder with some folks here, because there's not a lot of room to work with right now. This is what happens. The zone dynamics really do play a part. Larson, User, taking a fight right now, talking about players hip to hip here.
That's another team, though, trying to rotate in. Great opportunity for some free Storm Surge tags, while Endpen and Polarizers fighting for it. They like to fight and get this early game surge, and a huge shot to be landed on the User. Different angles going through. Endpen playing lights out. Polarized doing a good job, even though they're not necessarily in the same box. They have the same plan intact, and you can see what they're fighting for. The weapons cache, and they activated it rather quick, so they're going to get so much epic loot and legendary loot to come out of that one.
That's right. The huge upgrades here waiting to happen. Green and blues in the inventory absolutely have a chance, and look at how quickly it turned over. Of course, because of the population that's sitting here, but there it is. Picks up the SMG. Even if it is temporary, it's going to be enough, and he's trying to pull loot back to him. Does not want to give it up just yet to Larson. The walls, though, are starting to fall here. You can see the longer this goes on, the less likely it is to be worth it. No tags just yet. Polarized playing extremely passive. Excellent exchanges here. Very high-level trades between the two, and it seems like Larson and company start to realize they need a moment as well to rethink the situation.
I seen him right there just kind of, wouldn't say hesitate, but take a second longer looking at his augments. Makes me wonder if he's saving something in his back pocket for a little bit later on in the game as they finally choose to concede the fight. Already you saw Endpen and Polarized snatch the loot on out. So there wasn't much left fighting for. At least not worth risking your game for Larson and User. Talked about them at Naughty Nets, and they're splitting the drop along with TK and Ritual to give them the best chance off a spawn instead of laying it all on the line like we see some of the other teams do on the day. Foyo and Sphinx, this has kind of been the strategy over towards Mega City. At least every game that they have pulled the zones, they just kind of find one of the highest buildings there and build a tower in the sky, even higher than that, and they kind of look and try to take advantage of any team rotating in the distance.
Not to mention they're sitting on the loot cache as well. Plenty to work with here. And look at Boyo. He's like, hey, I'm just not even going to pop my big shield. I'm willing to take these trades. I'll dig into the minis. I got extra minis down below. That's exactly how the little things these exceptional players will do to go ahead and get ahead of the competition. Small tactics like that, over conserving the minis, but wow. Acorn with the blind tags into the bush. Sense is kicking off, and he finds a few tags. Those are huge, very important, and some extras to follow up. The reaction speed on Acorn right now, you can really see he's got his head down, forehead pressing the monitor right now. He's not playing games. Another one. Like, he's literally taking advantage.
Dripping on the keyboard, just everything.
Care.
But Acorn is just one of those players, along with Pamstu and Fatch. OGs, long-time duos. There's almost nothing in the game right now that are going to surprise players like this, that have experienced so many different versions of Fortnite, so many different metas, so many different chapters. So it's all about kind of getting that hot streak, gaining that momentum and seeing how far it can carry you. As in the distance, Fatch just takes so much damage, but he can look off into the distance. He has minis down there. He has chug splashes towards the north, shield kegs. He has the shield fish. He has so many heals, so it's almost like he didn't even get tagged up in the first place.
Yeah, literal options here to work with. And this is a team, Pamstu and Thatch, who quite recently nearly experienced the FNCS title championship. They came so close, a literal point difference finals we had just a couple seasons ago before the FNCS championship we had in person. The FNCS, of course, now puts on the line here the global championships, because why not? So let's make it even better. Let's raise the stakes. It's not just cash. It's, of course, the opportunity to play in person. Over here. Come on over to the EU.
And you're noticing right now, Sprite and Giants going for Rift Island. You might be thinking to yourself, wait, I think I've seen this before. Yeah, you might have. It was game number 1 and game number 3 of Surge Week. They fell short in game number 1. They went back to the drawing board, got those pulse rifles, and eventually qualified with a victory royale to make it here in this lobby. They're hoping with the success off spawn, taking out both Kanata and Agers, combine that with some overclock pulse rifles, that could be their recipe for success here in this game, and hopefully drop a nice elimination in victory royale to maybe jump up some spots like we see some other teams do on the day.
Absolutely. We've seen some great showings from Jamper so far today. He's got a team, though, in his line of sights here. He is a, you know, again, just a smidge above the Surge. You would think, oh, he's over 100. He should be okay. It's not the case here. Everyone gets that warning. Everyone gets that notification. And they all get, essentially, a little check. Where are we in this game? How good have we been able to perform? For Tahi and Def, they have Acorn and Cold in front of them. Luckily for them, they are above, so, you know, again, not the looming pressure to take the box fight against Cold and Crew. Both teams are very much in the same situation. And this works out for Cold and Acorn in particular. Tahi and Def finding the tags down there, finding a fight, and then pushing their way out, right? This is literally exactly what Cold and Acorn could have hoped for.
I like Cold right now, the way he's just looking at Death and Tahi moments ago. It was like a lion in the safari, just hunting down his prey. Just kind of hunched down, ready to strike. It's 261 above. Sometimes it's not being above. You find what you think is an advantage. Oh. You go for it. It costs you everything. As Death goes down, that's going to be hard to come back from, because he had 4 legendary slurp juices. He had the mythic Havoc pump, and now he's leaving it all on the line to Tahi to try to handle it. Luckily for him, Nounzy and ZZ in the distance, putting some pressure on both Knifer and Bylaw, which is kind of using it as a distraction for him to try to stay alive as long as he can. But just on the outskirts, there's another team boxed up, one more singular player after that. There's so many teams congested, and the zone isn't even right here right now.
Yeah, the crazy part is he had all that, but didn't have the material. It all makes sense now why they were so thirsty to jump down here, try to take the fight, and even less now as Tahi is by himself there. Knifer and Byla still sitting in the storm here. The clock is ticking as the chug barrel clock's over. They have plenty to work with, of course, 2 legendary slurp juices and plenty more, but so does Tahi. Okay, so he can actually entertain this waiting game. Is it worth it? Maybe not. You can see Cold and Acorn, I think, are already gone as the map starts to develop here. The zone's going to pop far east once again, playing that coastal side here. And there it is. So Tahi wants to pick up the card. He wants to see if he can make some kind of miracle run and get Dev back in the game. Probably going to be pretty tough to do so, but hey, he gets to live to see another day.
In theory, it definitely is possible. Does more than enough heals to last a long time in the zone and hopefully get him back, but only time will tell if that comes to fruition. As we jump on board Cooper and Miro, 315 above the damage threshold. Had some moments of brilliance go down, also some hiccups along the way. Luckily for them. And so many other teams in this game. It's 12 games throughout 2 days, 6 today, 6 tomorrow. This is going to be game number 4. So we're already past that halfway point. The Dragon of Liege, they're trying to hunt down and surprise attack with Epic Whale and Reet. They quickly Kinetic Blade away, and Dragon's just trying to stay on their heels.
Here's a team that's done so well these mid-game fights. They have Epic Whale in sight and Reet. Epic Whale and Reet have not had the greatest mid-games by any means. Struggling with Surge. The fact that they're even getting to this far into the rounds is some of their later performances. And again, they have a team that has been just on the prowl, truly closing out these battles. It's one thing to fight a great team. It's another thing to fight a team that's playing good on the day, but Epic Whale and Reet won't give up. Not without fighting here. They fight back. Great tags there. And now they have a chance.
You can see why Dragon of Liege are playing so aggressive. They're down on Storm Surge, and that's the thing. A lot of these games, they have been down, and this is how they're picking themselves back up. You can already see it. First Doc's gonna go through. Back-to-back for King Reet himself. 2 eliminations, probably one of the best controller players in North America right now. And you've seen he's getting so much more heals. He's getting all his loot. This could be that pick-me-up and the momentum shift that we're looking for of a team like Epic Whale and Reet.
Massive, and they could have used the refresh as well. All the extra materials. Let's go ahead and see this rotate. Looks pretty good. Things should start to settle here shortly.
See an Endpen polarized. Yet again, kind of back where they started. It's Larson and User yet again. But this time they finish that fight and take back the loot that they left behind earlier on in the game. But from one consistent team to another, Duke and Edgy trying to hold on to that top spot on the leaderboard. Just outside of the zone, but luckily for them, they don't got much to travel. The biggest worry for them and some of the other teams in the lobby is the environment they're gonna have to go through the zone. You're gonna go down the mountain, across the river, up Naughty Nets. There's so many different terrains that you have to watch out for. As Onward got his back against the wall, that's gonna be a trade. Ceice goes down, but at least he gets Chris for his efforts. Now it's just him and Yuz looking at each other through the wall in a 1v1.
The frustration that's gonna start setting in. It's gonna feel like you're on a long line at the theme park for your favorite ride. It's gonna take you quite some time. Yuz is gonna fall right there, and in the zone, On1 finds himself the siphon, the med miss, and everything else he needs to stay alive for a little bit longer. Bila and Knifer is gonna be the crew watching this all go down, and they have such loadouts that they are not worried or pressured at all. They, in fact, get On1 served up because of the Storm's damage, as it does start to do much more damage. Now, we are currently in zone 7. This starts to do 5 tick, and you can see how much health it's costing him while he's offsetting it with the big heals there from the legendary slurp. So really is extremely difficult, and the zone pulls far west and south here to where teams are not at. So much tougher rotate for some.
Yeah, notice they're shooting the flare gun at the ground because the train right now, it will catch fire and do some damage if it's kind of positioned right. You see it on the other side as they become a focus of the lobby. And for Knifer and Bila, this is a huge moment. With ODM no longer at their drop spot, they're forced to adapt, and with both of them having kinetic blades, there's no excuses for the rest of this game.
That's right. There are no excuses for the rest of the day either. You're really starting to run low on games here. We are in the back half, game 4 of North America. The first ever merging of the East and West servers, combining all of the players into one player pool now as they get to compete against one another. We have multiple reigning FNCS champions now under the same hub here. Acorn and Cold being, of course, the most talked about on the day here, and putting up the performances as well.
Oof.
They're backing up.
Man, this is making it look absolutely easy. Taking down team after team, dropping shield after shield. The interesting thing, though, you kind of notice only 343 above the damage threshold. Some of these players that they're taking out didn't necessarily have full shield, didn't necessarily have full HP, which is why they're trying to keep things rolling for themselves as they continue to collect that Storm Surge. And that augment, once again, Mythic Munitions. You see the Mythic Tactical Pistol. That's where a lot of teams late in this game are picking up the damage and are finding their eliminations.
It really is an excellent point. They are just cleaning up the scraps here, and they're getting by just fine. It's not like they're struggling at the moment. Right above them, you have, of course, Bacon, just eyeing things out, but the zone's going to be the highest priority here as it pulls very far. In fact, there's no one who was there quite early. Everyone just used their early rotates to get in front. Those are, of course, those kinetic blades coming into place here. Let's see it. We get to zoom out for a second here. Jump on over to those teams. It's Booga, it's Threats.
You kind of already see it. Not only is it far, like you said, it's up and down the different elevations that these teams might have to expend more mats than they would typically want to in a position like this. While some, like Booga and Threats, they're going to be able to save a lot of the resources since they don't have far to travel to try to get in the zone. As they continue to look back and gate teams out, 800 above the damage threshold. For the rest of this game, in theory, Storm Surge is not going to be a worry.
That's right. If you read the zone early, you obviously realized and recognized we have to get to this big mountain. We have to set up quick. And that's what Booga and Threats do perfectly fine. And this is why they're such decorated duos, right? They're just that good. The experience really starting to shine through here. But for Duke and Edgy, they say, hey, let's take a different strategy. We're going to come in late. We're going to play this low ground. And now they're down here looking for any kind of refresher to put themselves in the mix. The zone could potentially fly off the edge as well, so the terrain is going to get very intense here. Sphinx and Boyo really flying under the radar so far, staying consistent, finding their eliminations, making their way into the endgame. We could have just a surprise runner as we start to close out the day if they keep this up.
Yeah, it's a team that has a playstyle that maybe not it's the most flashy, it may not be the most exciting, but they're getting the job done on a consistent basis. They're one of the teams that qualified for all of our weekly finals,
right,
and that's what got them into the grand finals and skipping Surge Week overall. So it's going to be a big moment for them as they close the day out, as Acorn and Colt trying to make up for lost time. It's almost like they didn't go down early in game number one, and that's a scary sight. Even though they didn't get very, very many points, they made up for that time, and you got to imagine what they're going to do now that they're on fire.
It's really what happens when you start to shape up the meta in a way that you have such a crazy mobility item like the Kinetic Blade in play here. It's so accessible, you can get from point A to point B. It allows you to either be aggressive or be passive, get to a point of position. Just play for the placements here. Duke and Edgy, of course, just want to continue to stay alive, take it slow, and earn their way on up to the top, but they are now below the surge, so that whole conversation about slowing it down, not for them, not right now. They really need to look around and find a fight. They find visuals right above them. Sounds like there's a battle going on up there, but they don't quite find anything with the tags they put down. But Byla, completely different story. Already knock in hand. Now eyeing up the high ground. They're giving Booga and Threats a run for their money. They're making it difficult.
Oh, but everything comes crashing down for a moment to the high ground they were trying to take. Vanishes right before our very eyes. They're continuously trying to fight, but Byla goes down. That's Threats who's fighting back tooth and nail. Backed up Knifer, and that's how they were able to separate it and make for an easy elimination. You gotta imagine now that Booga and Threats, if they're able to hold the high ground, they took down the player with the Mythic Overclock Pulse Rifles. Now it's theirs to claim, and if they have the high ground, that's a ton of pressure they can put on the lobby.
Well, it's crazy. It's gotten broken down again. No one is allowing players to get situated or settled here in Game 4. It is a complete battle. They are literally kinetic blading their way through those builds consistently over and over. We don't have Kings of Hype just yet, but we do have teams in trouble. Duke and Edgy are one of the few here. They get to the front side as though they are just playing excellent right now as far as their rotates go.
Yeah, they're doing it through many different ways as well. High ground, low ground, staying ahead of the zone. Duke and Edgy are just playing so consistent, but I talked about what he picked up. He has the high ground, and now we're seeing what you can do when all that loot is coming to fruition. The pressure is going to be so hard for some of these teams to recover. That's why the name of the game at this stage is stay away from ultimate low ground.
That's right. Cold and Acorn are down here, though. 4 Elims in trouble. No builds to work with, and the heals are starting to run thin, but I do see a flint knock, so there's plenty of plays to be made here. Let's watch Cold get through this will build. They're on the tarp now. They're eyeing up these players here, and look at this. They're working together. The double pickaxe. Edgy is there on the other side of the wall. Can they get the conversion? Of course they can. And there's a couple builds, but they're used up pretty quickly. And another little crevice to sleep through. And now it's going to come down to the reaction.
Yeah, these are big points that they're picking up while they're in absolute shambles. Not much to work with, but at least Acorn gives him something. 8 builds, anything to defend yourself. But you know Cole is one of the most skilled players as an individual. Something is better than nothing as the pressure from above continues to be poured down. They find another elimination and a huge siphon that I don't know if they can actually pick it up. They're going to have to sacrifice some HP, and that's Cold. He goes back to Storm to try to find it, but in comes Pollo, in comes Speaks, down goes Acorn. It's all up to Cold. He gets dropped. Skittles as well. Sphinx and Pollo late in the game are on a terror.
This is exactly why we talked them out. They have just been so consistent, keeping a low profile, making their way to endgame, and now they're here to make a name for themselves on the NA America region here. Let's see what North America's got as Bugha comes down. He's going to go ahead and throw himself into the fight. Trashy sticks behind to stay for the heal, but Bugha jumps in and finds one, and now he's taken out. Did they go too soon? We'll find out. Pollo, Sphinx have so much time, 20 seconds on the clock here to make a move. They could win this.
Yeah, the Shadow Tracker pistol could be big, especially if anybody's trying to kinetic blade to the outside of zone. That mark for a few seconds gonna let him know where we're at. Baka takes some tag. His position is gonna be revealed, but Threats almost smooth towards the high ground, getting tagged out. He has all the heals for his team, which is why we saw Bugha drop down low.
No way!
Baka. Down goes Baka. Sphinx yet again. He picks up his 4th elimination. The med miss is huge. Look at that pile of loot he just found.
This is not your typical heal off. This is one that you had to absolutely fight for. Sphinx puts it all on the line, steps into the zone, gets the siphon. Is it going to be enough? He has to survive for a little bit longer, but no, Threats finds a heal when it matters most, and he does survive in the end. If there's going to be a heal off, I want it to play out just like that.
Yeah, there it goes. And we were kind of talking backstage, kind of questioning a little bit. Is Threats that guy? Is Bugha that guy? We talk about the chat that's going on around this team. Can they take that top spot? Because it's been all about Gold and Acorn. Well, guess what? The question has been answered. The Kings have arrived.
Well, we've seen the simulations. We know what can happen when you put such exceptional, decorated players together. And just like that, Threats and Bugha do enough to seal the deal and get the win. That was an exceptional and incredible game for not only Dignitas Bugha, but Man City's Threats.
Yeah, and you saw some teams go down early, Kanata and Aegis. You saw some teams perform well above standards, including Bugha and Threats in that victory royale in the 4th game. So leaderboard, once again, must be tossed turned upside down. So I'm going to go throw it over Zeke and our analyst one more time to let us know where everybody stands.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Fantastic set of games so far. First off, give a big welcome to Kelly, who is joining us here and will be with us for the last set of games. My gosh, though, Bugha and Threats. I like that Jacob kind of asked the question, is Bugha that guy? Is Threats that guy? Seems like they're both him.
They're both the guy, and you could see that all the way from Zone 7 where they did that dead side rotation, playing so smart that allowed them to get the advantage when Zone 8 did pull, and they just kind of had a little bit of a luck of the draw there where the zone did pull directly towards where they were, and because of that advantageous position, they were able to get height early and then hold it for pretty much the rest of the game.
Yeah, and honestly, just because of that exact position they were in, they were able to, last so long throughout endgame. Yeah, tons of eliminations. We can see it like 12 eliminations taking height. And again, too, the timing of them moving throughout height. And also having that gun just tears through builds, especially when you're on high. It's crazy.
Yeah, the pulse rifle incredibly beneficial, and Threats making a great play right here, making sure that he had to try and grab the heal offs because we saw Sphinx doing the same thing. And we know that if you're on the low ground, that's where there's going to be a lot of loot on the ground because that's where all the players are dropping. So he couldn't allow Sphinx to do that by himself. Threats drops down, finds a lucky heal, to be fair, and they grab that victory royale.
Absolutely. Well, hey, time to take a look at the standings. How are things shaping up after these last few games? Look at this. Edgy, Duke, they are still leading the pack, but that lead is starting to shrink just a little bit. Acorn and Cold look to jump up now, jumping up in that 2nd place. And after that victory royale, Bugha there and Threats in 5th place. They've now jumped up to 2 placements. Right now, if you ask me coming into today, is this a top 5 that you would expect to see in NA? Now I feel like it's starting to kind of be that top 5 I would expect to see, Kelly.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these teams that we're seeing here are the big top dogs out of NA. I mean, we got, of course, Acorn and Cold, our reigning champs, but Dukes and Edgy, Dignitas is definitely happy with a lot of their players right now, and I'm sure Dukes is one of them. He has been doing a great job carrying his team. A lot of kind of solo impact points coming from this player right here, and a lot of that that has to do with how they're taking these early engagements, allowing them to get that much-needed Storm Surge tags. Although as I say that, we can see that they're below Storms here. So although they're able to grab those 2 eliminations at the start, that still isn't as much as they need. But Edgy doing a good job holding out strong in solo towards the end game.
I think it's interesting as well. Like, normally we're kind of used to seeing it on the other side, right? It's normally Dukes that is actually the one fighting the solo impacts. But again, Edgy's like, hey, I'm here pulling my weight. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, honestly, too, to see that at the end, Sphinx literally being like, nah, we're going to go look for heals. I know we talked about it. That's kind of crazy, though. He had to think ahead and say, all right, how's it going to be possible for me to win this game? I'm going to try all that I can. He got very lucky, you know, finding those heals. But again, too, like, smart going in the direction where the storm came from because he knows that that's where they will be. He just played this out so incredibly well.
Oh yeah, sticking to the low ground, especially with that legendary Havoc pump shotgun, being able to take down incredible top players like Baka. I'm fairly certain he also took down Cold and Acorn. So getting the last heals right there, just a little too late with that heal. But of course, grabbing second place is doing a good job, and sitting in 4th place overall is pretty great.
You say second as well. Acorn and Cold jumping up. Remember, at the end of tomorrow, after 12 games total, we're looking for that winner, of course. The top 3 will also take us to Globals. Acorn and Cold, they already have their spot in Globals. So right now, it's kind of like a victory lap, but they're also looking to kind of play spoiler for everyone else, Kelly.
I mean, yeah, the beams that Acorn is doing with just the green red eye is absolutely insane. I love the fact that we see him pick up Mythic Munition a lot because that pistol can come in handy so many times.
I was looking and I was like, Acorn, I thought you were IGL. You're over here fragging out, getting all these like eliminations. What's going on, dude? But I absolutely love the way that he played this out. They were really smart, and unfortunately, you can get caught in sticky situations like that. But they are actually, we are seeing them continuously move up the leaderboard like we expected. So I will, you know, I'm a big fan. We already know this, but I really do think we will continue to see them progressing throughout these next games and moving into tomorrow.
Do you guys feel like right now we're seeing kind of more of these duos heat up? And, you know, we kind of have to have this conversation. Some duos like to be day 1 teams, and they look to perform their best on day 1. Others look to do it on day 2. Is this top 5 maybe indicative of day 1, day 2, somewhere in the middle? What do you think, Kelly?
I'm feeling like it's kind of top heavy right now. A lot of the teams that we see getting into that kind of top 5 position are doing that time and time again, and that's looking a little rough for the other teams that are below. It doesn't even matter if you are a day 2 team. When the teams that are in 1st through 5th are 80 points the rest ahead of the pack, that's going to be a little rough for a lot of these other teams to kind of pick up where they need to in day 2.
Yeah, and I think these regions coming together, they're trying to feel it out and just kind of see what they have to deal with moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do a little check-in here with some of the stats we're seeing after just the first 4 games of the competition. Now, we have to kind of talk through this a little bit, right? So right out the gate, solo impact points, pretty simple, right? Right now, Threats doing a very good job performing by himself. This is just saying, hey, Threats, he's dope. He's at the top when it comes to performing when he's by himself.
I mean, look at all the stats that Threats is taking right now. Not just solo impact points, carrying Booga a little bit on his shoulders, but also the most damage dealt, the best damage ratio, meaning that for every damage he's done, that's the percentage of damage that he has not taken. So 2.4 is incredible there. And then distance traveled, that's an interesting stat.
Honestly, what I love about this is that Threats as a player, and we're talking about like solo impact points, but just as a player overall, he has not yet got an FNCS championship, and I want to see that happen. I would love to see Booga and Threats come out on top, and Threats, I really truly believe does deserve that FNCS title.
Yeah, they are kind of that caliber duo we would expect to see in Globals, right? But again, 2 days of competition, 4 games down, 2 more to go today, another 6 tomorrow. That momentum, can they keep that going, Kelly?
I mean, definitely. We've seen them time and time again have an incredible performance, not just from the early game, but obviously mid and late game as well. But they do still have a few tie-ins in their way if they want to grab that 1st place spot.
There's a lot on the line, and I really want to see these teams step up and make it happen.
There you have it. It is that time, though. As all things come to an end, this part is over, but Game 5 is ready to go. I know you want games. Me too. Let's get back into the action. This is the FNCS.
Time truly flies when you're having fun, and I'm having the time of my life along with Monster D-Face calling the action. This has been 4 incredible games up until this point, and I'm hoping this 5th one doesn't disappoint.
I know it's not, because we're one step closer to closing out day 1, but here it is. You heard that battle bus, and so did I. Let us see what's going to unfold for us right now. I mean, Jacob, listen, we've had so much of our literal predictions come to life right now. The teams that we've expected to step up, perform, they're doing just that. Other teams that are having contested conversations on the drop are on the winning side, more or less. If you had your, again, your bets hedged. And that team I'm talking about is Kanata and Agers. Last game, they were dropped immediately. This game, touches down, gets a shotgun out the gate there. Little hesitation from Agers, and he sets up. Ooh, and super close. We know the difference is Sprite does find the headshot, and Kanata comes in for the trade. He has to get the full finish. He needs this siphon. There's no time to waste. Giants breaks open the build, and Kanata was close, but not close enough. Giants and Sprite win again here. Game 4, now game 5. They are poising and setting themselves up to have, again, just the upset, I think, of the weekend.
Yeah, and one thing that you kind of noticed, if you were not just necessarily distracted by that off-spawn exchange, is Bucky and Okus, again, stealing away those kinetic blades.
Yeah,
and they're going to go ahead and use that to dash back to their actual spot. But you see the feed getting lit up right now. Both Yamso and Rise taking down Demonics and Nick yet again. So that's another off-spawn win for them. Bryce and Chubbs uncontested, kind of pushing Paper and Shadow off. And honestly, so far, at least 2 big off-spawn wins for Bryce and Chubbs. Paper and Shadow are really going to have to think about if they're going to contest it at any point for the remainder of this event.
Zeus and Landjock, we've seen this fight break out a few times, and it hasn't looked good for Zeus or Landjock. Very tough position to be in when you have such an exceptional duo right above you. And again, the difference between the teams we've seen battle, Kanata and Agers, On1 and Zypha, when they win their drops, turn them into just such monstrous games, clearly showing us they are well within a top 10 caliber duo across North America. Think about that. Not just, oh, they're playing well today. No, they're playing well against the wider spread of the entire North America while contested on a drop. So, who's to say what's going to happen if they can make it to global championships when they're just this?
Yeah, this is the creme de la creme, the cream of the crop was Landshot trying to fight back. 7 HP in a dream. Now he's stuck as a solo as his teammate Zuki did go down. He's fighting back, but it's just not going to be enough. On1 makes that final shot count yet again. They picked up 2 eliminations. Towards the outskirts, though, you did see both Crisp and Yuz begin to put shots on. It wasn't a ton, but at least something added towards their Storm Surge's Commandment and Macwood so far out in the outskirts on an island away from the main island here. They're in a 2v1 situation where they're able to get that first elimination so far. Scare Bear's trying to use the kinetic blade to try to get out. The shots are still firing in, fielding anything to try to fight back and even shooting down Macwood, but it's not going to be enough. He still meets his demise, and that's going to be a ton of loot and a ton of space that Commandment and Macwood just won.
Last time we saw Commandment perform poorly in the FNCS, he switched up his duo and he went with a completely different strategy. Thus, turning around a top 3 performance. This time around, I mean, he's in a bit of a trouble right here. This is a team I think is probably the most underperforming that we've seen so far. Commandment and Macwood, we expect so much more from, but let's get to another team that has such a great set of accolades under their belt, even on today's competition. Duke and Edgy, they started off extremely strong. They've managed to continue to maintain that consistency there, but that was a close one. Was not given up for free.
Yeah, you're seeing how every single one of these games are starting so far. And you can see Duke alone, 16 eliminations, average placement 7th. And even though they're not getting a victory out, they're staying consistent. Consistency wins overall. Kwanchak, once again, trying to fight, take over this POI. That's Thork and Bolt, who've tried to switch things up. They haven't been having the best day. Former NA champions. The shots are going to fire through. Trades between the 2 teams as Thork and Bolts now get hip to hip in the same box, trying to stabilize themselves in this position. Bolt's taking a lot of damage. He's a big part of this team's aggressive nature, and he goes down. But you gotta go ahead and give it up to Thork. He was able to escape because now, as long as he stays alive, they at least have hope to try to get back into this game.
Jack really showing us why he is, of course, a previous FNCS champion wielder as well. Just notice what a professional player would do. He didn't care to reload. He says, nope, I'm going to go and step up, take this wall, use my shotgun. That's all I need. TK, Rituals, another excellent team. Of course, Naughty Nets is their playground. We were hyping them up last game, of course, as a team that can perform well in these early game head-to-heads. But it's the mid game. It's the end game. That, of course, has been becoming a little bit more difficult for TK and Ritual to find that conversion.
Every game so far, they kind of been splitting the loot, going their separate ways, and they might not like where they're at on the leaderboard because of that loot split between the two teams, so now they're trying to fight it out off spawn. One team is trying to claim all that loot as their own, but with a couple of shots being fired off, traded between the two. It's going to be TK and Rituals who actually choose to disengage back on over to the north side of Naughty Nets, where they kind of been typically playing. You see him using that bush, just waiting, looking back, seeing if anybody is daring enough to peek. As you see Miro bringing Cooper back into the game. May not be how they wanted to start game number 5, but this is exactly how you pick yourself up and get back into it.
I'm all for it. Miro, Cooper, starting to really cruise their way through right now. The last 2 games or so has these pretty far zones that have tilted their way towards the east sides, and it's been really well for them, as of course being one of those northern landing teams. Bugha and Threats on the opposite side of this conversation, of course. Don't really have too much competition near them, but for the first time, it does look like they're sensing some resistance. I can see a team, of course, located to the far north, and now one to the south side as well. So they might be, for the first time now, in a bit of a pinch here.
Yeah, they're separated, Bugha and Threats. For the No Strangers, they do kind of split up more often than not, very, very early on in the game to try to get information early. Storm Surge is on one. Zypha do look like they have their opponents, Batman, Bugha, and Bacon, slowly but surely trying to pick up the pace. Team that is kind of used to fighting, getting their Storm Surge very, very early on in the game, hasn't come to fruition just yet, and that's how you see them. Last game and now this one, getting a little bit more proactive, closing the distance between there and their opponents, and trying to get anything for themselves to work with. Got to imagine a couple of shots were traded off and fired, but that's going to be a green light for Batman, Bugha, and Bacon to kind of rotate to the center of this zone.
Yeah, dude looking like they are in some good spirits there as well. For Acorn and Cold, much slower paced game for them. For the first time, we see them positioned just outside the mega city here, looking to see what they can put as far as pressure down onto the inside. And a quick stat for crew here, Acorn and Cold have averaged 4.67 eliminations per game in weekly finals, the best of any duo in NA. They come on into the grand finals weekend, stepped right on up after a shy performance. I'll call it a shy performance because they didn't show up in game 1. But after that, they really came out and showed that.
Yeah, usually game number 1 is where our competitors, they kind of feel each other out. They figure out how they're going to play. Are you going to play the way you play in scrims? Are you going to play the way you play in a duo cash cup? Because you said it yourself, Monster. The finals lobby, where all these superstars come into one, our top 50 teams, it's just a whole different beast. This isn't something that anybody can necessarily prepare for at every single turn. So it's definitely going to take a lot of these players to dig deep and kind of figure out what they're going to do. I see Fatch and Pamso almost with the 3-2-1, put some great shots on to Chris. Gotta imagine where Yuz is at for now, but interesting decision though. They did a good amount of damage, but they're choosing to disengage to stay ahead of the zone.
And this, of course, is one of our top 10 teams. Fatch and Pamso have had quite the performance today. Just all in all, nothing flashy, but very consistent in the end game, causing upsets. As our longest and most consistent standing duo, team that has played tournament after tournament, finals appearance after finals appearance. They truly are a model duo. And even now, see them taking in the sacrifices. Paper and Shadow. Here's someone who has completely mixed up his strategy this go around for the FNCS, and it's worked out so far. Some might call it beginner's luck. New duos, you know, magical hit-off, if you want to call it that. But Shadow is just a great player when he's on point, when he's focused up. And that's what Paper talked about. Remember, we had that interview.
Yeah.
Gave us a little insight.
And that's what I want to see coming out from Paper and Shadow. The confidence to be able to kind of pop off at a moment's notice. 4 points per elimination do allow players with a Victory Royale to pop off. That's exactly what we saw from Bugha and Threats last game. And you're already seeing them off kind of a little bit of a hot start here. A huge weapons cache. They're staying on the southern portion of the map. They're doing so many great things, but I'm going to go ahead and throw it on over to Vivid to go ahead and throw that list out for us for what Bugha and Threats are doing.
Yeah, doing so many great things, off to a hot start, but it actually starts with their early game. There were some concerns coming into today whether they would be able to get the majority of their split job. Of course, because of some of the way that some things are working out towards the job spot, they are actually able to gather up all of this loot. Now, the bulk of this split job is actually going to be the building on that island just south of Mega City that has both of those kinetic blade spawns for this duo.
And it's crazy because I had a concern for a second. Did they actually get active? Did they find tags? They sure did. In the breakdown, you saw that. They were finding tags. They were, putting the tags out on the teams in the distance and doing exactly what they're supposed to do. A duo of their caliber, really pressuring everyone around them. It's crazy how many seasons Bugha has demanded, not even demanded, just the players completely respect him. They just give him all the territory that he quite literally wants to claim.
Talk about territory and claiming it. This one's going to be a hard position to rotate through. 3 teams kind of stacked up here. A 4th one a little bit far off. 2 more trying to come into the distance. Cooper and Miro already forced to reboot each other back into the game. You can kind of see the maths. Only 4 builds to work with off the back of Miro. He was the one that was kind of brought back thanks to the augment mythic munitions. His inventory can definitely pack a punch, but you can see that what I'm looking for right now is a refresh. Who they can catch off guard, who they can take advantage of, because if they don't find one, getting through point A to point B at this next zone is going to be hard as can be for them.
Absolutely, and now they have to make a decision. They're going to go ahead and look to play the zone deep here, using the terrain to their benefit, but the mats are so low that it's a pretty tough spot to be in, and there it is. They get tagged from behind. It's going to be all she wrote for a moment if he can't get to some heals or some cover, and there it is. Taken down now. Cooper is all that's left here.
You see him, all the decisions kind of running through Cooper's mind. Is this something I can do? Can I be the hero yet again? Yamzo is going to get credit for that elimination, but at least Cooper in the back of his mind is looking for the timing to try to grab that reboot card. Maybe get a second chance once more to bring Miro back into the game, or some would say third chances because he already did it once. And you're seeing the position of where Yamzo and Rise actually were able to pick up that elimination from. Not too far off of their original drop spot, but that's what you see in this meta right now. So many skyscrapers, so many towers in the sky, and that's how a lot of these teams are picking up Storm Surge, or in this case, eliminations.
Yeah, and that is exactly the elimination we saw play out there, the full finish too. Coming into this game, Mira or Yamzo and Rise were just outside that top 10. These eliminations that they're racking up right now surely have closing the gap if the competitors haven't done the work as well. So 3 elims, honestly, barely approaching the mid game. What an excellent spot to be in. Way to position yourself. Talking about excellent spots, here we have this look at Bugha and Bacon. Doesn't get much better than this, as Rift Island is, of course, the place that's going to yield you that legendary pulse rifle.
Rift Island usually is the highest point of the map, and then I look in the distance. I see one of the buildings from New York, your hometown. The Empire State.
A lot of skyscrapers in the good old city of New York. Never know what you're going to catch there.
Visuals braids, though. See them trying to sneak past their opponents. They're well above the Storm Surge threshold, over 400. For them, it's just trying to find any position in towards zone, but they become the focus of the lobby, which is tough because both Visuals, Braids might not have any HP to regain. Visuals stuck with just 27. Flare guns going off as well. So position isn't going to be a secret to most in the lobby as the pressure continues from so many other directions. That's Dragon, that's Elise, that's Yusuf, that's Curious, all making them expend so many mats. You kind of see Visuals have some of his own, spreading it out, and get even less. So for them, they need a refresh for a multitude of reasons.
Demolition in full effect right here, and it costs them so much. Already down now to the bottom quarter of their medal. Very tough spot to be in. On one in a much more, I would say, friendly position. Things are looking pretty nice over here. Very pleasant, in fact. As he's got all the time in the world to go ahead and farm up. Taking the brick out this building here is going to be huge. Look at that. Even finds himself some spare mushrooms down low. Curiosity doesn't take down the cat this time. In fact, he gets rewarded here. So, well played for him. He's got a very nice rotate to make as well here down the left side. So, On1 and Zypho poison themselves up. The last time we checked up with the team that was looking that good was Acorn and Cold in Game 3, and that turned out to be an excellent showing for them. So let's see what's going to happen here.
This is a team right here that throughout the 3 weekly finals, I had high hopes. They had such great performances, game after game, even picking up a victory royale throughout some of the weeks. But they left a lot kind of wonder, but luckily that we keep talking about a 2-day affair. This is game number 5. It's not necessarily always how you start, it is how you finish. And for some teams, it is imperative that they finish strong on the day. You have to put yourself in a position on the leaderboard, that way you have a fighting chance.
The Augment Bush Warrior coming into full effect right there. You saw him nearly use that legendary slurp juice, but second thought, nope, I'm gonna go on and heal up. That's massive. It just shows you how much Augments really shift the game and give players a chance to go ahead and play the best they can play. Here's Bucky and Okis, a very hit or miss team on the day. They've had some great show outs and some not so hot ones, and already right now they're making their way into the mid game. This is a true disruptor of the duo.
Honestly, I'm not necessarily surprised that they're down on Storm Surge, considering their flexible strategy, kind of landing on the outskirts of the racetrack, taking away those kinetic blades, then going on an adventure from there. Fars and Baka, we saw them not too long ago try to contest that Rift Island. So it's an interesting decision that they don't grab those overclock pulse rifles, or at least not both of them. If any, if Baka even wanted it in his hands. But honestly, I can see why. Once you get that red eye in your hands, you're able to put down a lot of damage from Storm Surge. Even if you have a mythic munitions in your back pocket, you may not necessarily need an overclock pulse rifle.
Absolutely, but what was that? Literally had a single build open while they were tarving and just clipped with a headshot twice from above. But Cold and Acorn are doing just that as well. This time to teams in the box. And this is why you gotta be extremely careful when you open up and edit. It does completely reset the health of the walls, and the punishment can start to fly back. This is the little things that Cold and Acorn look for and take advantage of. And this is, again, why they are almost leading the competition right now, truly catching up and closing the gap.
You can kind of see once again, he did bring Miro back inside of Cooper, but finally he does go down. That's Pars and Baka to get the eliminations and the refresh for their efforts. And that's big, just kind of get their momentum going. I talked them up big before the show. I'm just hoping it can kind of hold on to their position. You see Poyo and Sphinx over towards Mega City trying to get into the zone as Dragon Elige. They got an elimination not too long ago. And that's why they're fighting for all this loot that's getting left behind.
This is a crazy pocket to be in as well. This back corner had Zypher and Crew Zypher taken out by Muzz, who gets the full finish, and now you have all these players trying to rotate right now. Dragon and Leash have had, again, an exceptional track record of mid-game battles. As far as their end-game conversions, not quite where they want it to be. If they can patch that up on day 2, they'll be set up for a great grand finals and potentially even a chance at the global champions. Again, you have to make it into top 3. It's not just winning this FNCS and getting paid today and, of course, having your actual champions. Global Championships is on the line right now. Arguably, the prestige of the weekend. There's going to be more than one winner. It's going to be 3 big people. 3 teams, of course, that are going to be extremely happy to set up weight, regardless of what.
We got a couple players already going for that global championship. Bolton Thorpe.
Oh, yeah.
Acorn, Cold, they already punched their ticket. So if anybody's wondering, what if they win? What if they get in the top 3? Well, it just rolls down to that next spot. Blessing in disguise for some as Dragon Elige putting the pressure on to the backside of zone. Finding a couple of shots, but definitely not what they're looking for as they take that first tick to Storm Surge before going right above. It's going to be huge for them to stay ahead of that curve, but it's going to be hard at the same time because Booga and Threats are literally right behind them.
They're doing well. Dragon and Liege now find themselves just on the edge of the zone here. Hound is the team on site. They're only 123 above, so you know they're going to have to make the decision soon to potentially take this fight. See Ceice in the feed there, finds TK. Ceice, of course, have been following his story develop here. It's time to turn up. He's another one of those players that are inside the middle of the pack for pumping trash. They're in the top 10, and what a way to continue to rack up and earn points here as they find Rokane, the vet.
That's it. Big impact elimination for them. Momentum shifting. Last 2 games, where you're at in the leaderboard at the end of the day goes to show, do I have to play catch up? Do I have to have a monster game? Do I have to do XYZ? And if you're at the top of the leaderboard, you're controlling your own destiny. You're giving yourself more than enough room to work with. And if you kind of see, our top 5 teams are still alive, left in this lobby, including Duke and Edgy, who have been performing at a consistent, out-of-this-world standard so far on the day. If they're able to hold on to that one, they could be our favorites going into day 2.
They came into this game with a 20-plus point lead. 2 elims already are showing us that they're pacing their way to continue to maintain it. It's going to be extremely, and I mean extremely hard to catch them falling off the high horse right here and take advantage of their downfall. It's just not going to come easy when they're playing this well. This might be one of those ones where you chalk up, you sleep, and you rehearse for day 2. So far, Duke and Edgy are doing everything in their power to succeed. Look at the adjustments now we're seeing from Epic Whale and Reet. I love that we are seeing different styles of play here. Here's a team that also just has not given up. They're starting to fight back right now.
Yeah, and you're kind of noticing right now a Green Havoc. What is that? For a team for Epic Whale and Reet, who usually always grabs the vault loot from Mega City, it's a surprising turn of events, but they're still down on Swarm Surge. That has been the trend throughout our weekly finals leading up to this. How are they going to deal to it was one of the questions that I was asking myself, and man, are they landing shots with their back up against the wall. Dodging these Storm Surge attacks is going to be important because they definitely got a little bit of a journey to go before they get that safety of the zone.
And again, surprising foot rotate too. When we follow so many teams that have the kinetic blade baked into their strategy, this is like a breath of fresh air, but it's toxic. It's toxic air. It's pretty tough for them. You can see the punishment that comes in. It's not easy by any means. It costs you material and everything as well. It really does paint a picture for us. It shows us how much harder it is when you don't quite have your strategy play out the way you want it to. That vault is a key to turning the events around for you.
Yeah, and in my history watching Epic Whale, whether he was with Arkham on West or when he's trying to change on over to Reet, he is like a second half type of player. When he knows where he needs a big game because he's on the leaderboard, not where he wants to be, they look for those eliminations. They kind of play into their role at the leaderboard as Chubbs, Bryce stuck down low. Zone's gonna get a max pull. That's about 150 meters away before they find their safety of the zone. And without a kinetic blade, or even any heals for that matter, for Chubbs and Bryce, you definitely got your hands full.
And this is the worst we've seen our third place team, Chubbs and Bryce. This is literally by far the poorest position they've been in, where they find themselves with no heals, below the material count they probably would have liked, and a big rotate to go in front of them as they're on the backside of zone. So if there's a game that hasn't been going their way, it's this one. I have to assume it's because they didn't find enough fights in the early situations. Here's a new team on high ground. It's Chris from Fusion. It's WTJ's school here, and they're looking to poise themselves up for a high ground position in a fight right now. We're gonna slide on over. It's Muzz and DJ in there. They're not gonna give it up for free. Chris is literally playing his hand out, and no, he realizes, hey, wait a second, that's not quite the safe zone, and we gotta get over to the side. He lands in the box. What was that? Caught up, boxed up, and diced up, minced by Acorn and Cold there, and it's over.
That's such a tragedy because now School is left by himself in a very, very similar spot, but without the kinetic blade, now he becomes the focus. A lot of his materials are getting expended, just down to 10, and that number is slowly but surely dwindling down with multiple players trying to attack from different angles as he's trying to escape, but finally gets caught out, taken out of the lobby. Timber, Muzz, and DJ get dropped right out of the sky, so nobody really has that tower built in the sky just yet.
And it's a free-for-all now. Who's going to scramble up for the high positions here? Cold and Acorn can be one of the few to take a stab at it. Quante and Peterbot eyeing up the teams right now who have decided to go for it. A little too soon, a little too late, as they don't have quite the material count to make the big fight. Duke and Edgy are just fighting their way through, but again, Edgy's down now. This is trouble in paradise here. Top 10 looming in the distance there. It's a long stretch though.
Oh, no.
In these end games, 60 seconds feels like forever, but you have to stay alive.
He made a mistake. He dropped the splashes. He did want that legendary Havoc, but he dropped the splashes, which he was trying to keep. But instead, he kept the Menbus. But at least it's something to kind of stagger himself in and out of the zone. But from our last game, Victor Royale, Bigga, and Threat, they're in a great position. But Cold is not. He has to do it by himself as a solo. But I will say, if anybody is capable of a massive feat like this, it is going to be someone like Cold.
We've seen the big plays from him before as well, and he has an additional win condition in his hands. But oh no, you don't want to fall now. Another team literally comes in at the opportune time, almost saves him. He opens up, takes the win, Elin for himself. That's a knock there, and now he has to slide on out. There it is, sliding his way to low ground. Little delay to go ahead and put his builds down, but he's fully situated now and back in the running on high ground. Peterbot, Quanti end up turning things around, so keep an eye out on them. They could be setting themselves up for the win, but everyone else now has to keep fighting their way through.
Yeah, this is what we like to see as well. Duke staying ahead of all the madness on the low ground. You can see the edit towards the backside of the zone to give himself a little bit more safety as the kinetic blades track towards the front side. I talked about the med miss and the splashes that he has. He hasn't had to use much to this point, but the pulse rifle was breathing through the builds, taking some damage. He's forced to try to get anything that he can. Pars breaks through. Trashy goes down. I think they're in the great position to try to take it with 8 eliminations so far.
This is crazy. Pars and Baka are dragging everyone out to the deep waters and forcing them down to hold their breath. 8 Elins and counting right now as we're inside the near top 10. And finally, there it is. He does end up losing Baka. Okay, someone had a life vest. They're fighting back. Pars swings around the side. Kinetic blades on up, and he's out of material. It's all or nothing now.
At least he has the men miss. It's not going to get him to full HP, but it's something to work with as he finally gets taken out and tagged up. That's Muzz. He won game number 1. 7 eliminations for the team so far as Peterbot trying to hold on to the high ground, but Quanti gets lost. Clarity doing what he can. He's able to get the elimination. The Siphon's going to get cleaned up. Into the top 2 we go, and Peterbot is by himself in a 1v2 situation, getting forced out of zone. That's Nounsy and ZZ trying to take it all and pressure him. But do they have the heals or the momentum on the side? It looks like ZZ is going deep into the zone to try to fight him. You hear the men miss going off. Does he have enough as Peterbot finally runs out? Now it's his turn to get onto the hut. The Siphon is going to get picked up. That was huge. That Siphon was big. That could be it. The difference for Peterbot, but only 2 ticks left in the zone. His luck is finally runs out as Nounsy and ZZ take the game.
That's actually crazy. In an unseen turn of events, ZZ found a med miss when he ran back into the storm. But more importantly, Peterbot must have thought he won that when he caught the Siphon.
Yeah, that was huge find because he didn't even necessarily get the knock onto that player, but he definitely got the cleanup. And I was wondering almost all day long with how well Peterbot and Quanti are performing. When are they going to show up? And they showed up big in this last game. Just not big enough.
And Nounsy literally was the deep shark in the sea there, takes down Baka, and then turns it around. And he was just cleaning up house on the low ground, finds Clarity G as well, and just credits to them for trying to, make the Mega Brain play. Nounsy hides his body, not well enough as he was discovered by Peterbot, but what a way for them to go ahead, play big, play smart, and win game 5.
Yeah, you talked about the men miss, that elimination as well. Peterbot, man, you got to watch out, but congratulations yet again. Another team entering the fray and taking a VR.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go ahead and do the math. We got to get caught up.
Thank you so much, Jacob PR, Monster D-Face. 1 game is left to go. But here in game number 5, fellow Z's, ZZ, and Nounsy. Get it? Because I'm a Z. Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
I just want to make sure.
You're so funny.
They give themselves a victory royale, and I have to give, as they give credit to Peterbot, knowing, in those moments when someone goes down, it's hard to find them. But Peterbot knew exactly where they were. And I really in my heart of hearts believe, no way Peterbot just clutched it, but apparently not quite.
I think a lot of people feel the same way. We all thought that Peterbot had that right there. And I love that you bring up, being aware of where other people are. And I think what ZZ did really well there is being aware of where the heals are going to be. Once you do get down to the final 5 teams, you'll actually see a lot of players kind of paying attention to what is on the ground around them because they know that eventually it might be going down to a heal off, as we've seen time and time again. So being aware of what's going on around you, not just of where the players are, but also where the loot is a pivotal part of success.
The timing when it comes to heal off is so incredibly important. And like we said, we thought it was going one way and it just completely went a different direction. And it's something that you can try and practice, but at the end of the day, finding those last minute heals, it's really just down to the wire and it can be thrown up in the air. You just never know who's it going to go to. In this case, we got Noun and Daz over here.
That's right. We have to turn our attention to the standings because remember, we only have 1 more game to go here, and then we'll be back tomorrow for the last 6. And from there, ultimately determine who's going to win Major number 2 and what the top 3 moving on to Globals will be. But for now, how are the standings? Duke and Edgy, they have maintained this lead. And I gotta say, I'm extremely impressed with the duo and even Acorn and Cold, right? The last few games, they've held those 2 spots down. But as you said last week, Kelly, Edgy has always been the bridesmaid, never the bride. Right. Could we finally break the curse? Is this the major to break the curse?
I mean, with a 30-point lead right now, they're doing a great job. They have the second most amount of eliminations as well as the most amount of placement points. So not only are they winning every single one of their early engagements, but they're also able to translate that into a successful in-game right here. And something that Duke does an incredibly good job of is staying ahead of the pack and finding the right ground to kind of land on. You'll see he'll adjust by going from mid ground to low ground to high ground depending on what's the most advantageous for him. And we can see right here, holding down the mid ground, doing a great job going from 2 to 4 eliminations in the blink of an eye right there, while also still having heals. Unfortunately, he does go down. But again, if you're able to consistently make it into the end game time and time again, a victory royale doesn't matter. I mean, look, they have 0 and they're still in that first place spot.
Dude, I honestly feel like for Duke and Edgy, they're like, man, y'all should have thrown us in top of the show because we are a team that is showing up and showing out. And I mean, seriously, a lot of the other teams, like, of course, a favorite, Acorn and Cole, we've seen them show out as well. But Duke and Edgy have just this, I don't know, like they have this power inside of them that they are just zooming through these games and they're making it happen. And I really do believe, you know, people are going to start VOD reviewing, watching, kind of trying to get technical and see what they're doing because it needs to be replicated.
They're hungry for it, right? That's why they're holding down that number 1 spot. But as we look down, Acorn and Cold, I kind of want to focus in on them for a moment. They are still like, though there is a lead from Duke and Edgy, it's not much, right? And with a single game, if Duke and Edgy were to say fall early, right? Acorn and Cold will go off. They have done this in the past. And so I'm very worried that like Acorn and Cold are kind of like playing with their food and they're like, yeah, you guys are in first place. And they're just waiting for that moment to strike.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. Obviously, Acorn and Cold are an incredible player. Again, shout-outs to Dignitas right now. They have 3 out of the top 4 teams being represented, so clearly they have a good job picking the right teams in to represent them. But Acorn and Cold, I mean, they had first place in weeks 1 and 3. They are the reigning champions, so I don't think there's too much to say besides the obvious that they're some of the best for a reason. But can they take down Duke and Edgy? That's the real question.
Yeah, again, like you said, it's not that far in the standings to between first and second. And I honestly think, again, like we have so many games tomorrow, so much to look forward to.
Yeah, 2 duos I do want to point out here before we flip on over to the top 20. First, 8th place, Muzz and Degen moving up 8 places, but also Caster and Clarity G. Clarity G hit some disgusting shots to make this happen. So shout outs to both of these duos now finding themselves in the top 10. But let's take a look at the top 20. Where are these other names that we're not seeing on this top 10? Could they actually be finding themselves in that top 20, looking to try and fight for the top 10? People like Trashy, Pump, Iamzo, and Rise, right? 2 duos we highlighted at the very beginning of the day, but there's not finding themselves in that top 10. Is it maybe that they're looking to fix whatever is in their way today and come in strong tomorrow?
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are having issues in the early game right now. Either they're getting eliminated right on drop, and we've seen some top teams like Kanad and Agers getting a rough start to their drop. And a lot of that obviously translates into mid and late game. If you're having a bad early game, then a lot of these players are also having issues with storm surge tags, and that can just put a real wrench in your plans to make it into the end game.
But again, like I think like we talked about, like, you could be a day 2 team, and you really can just show out and show off in day 2, and maybe honestly even make up for some of the, maybe, not as great plays that happened in day 1.
Yeah, it's never over until it's over, right? And 6 games doesn't sound like a lot, Jenny, but
it is.
It is.
It is.
And I mean, a lot of these duos, they're here for a reason, right? And they are hoping to find themselves at a good standing so we can prepare for tomorrow's games. But it's that time. The final game here in day number 1. I can't believe I blinked and suddenly we're here, but it's fine. We have one last ride today, so let's see if the players can make it count.
Six games of competition can be extremely taxing. You have to strap down, ready up, and prepare yourself, because if you want to take off on this battle bus and make it to the global championships, you're going to have to perform today and then again tomorrow.
Yeah, and where you end on the day, it really does mean so much. It kind of decides how you're able to play throughout the rest of the tournament, and players really need to realize this is not a race. This is a marathon. so you can't get gassed out just on day number 1. And that's why you got to look at some of these teams that are so well up on the leaderboard that are building themselves that much of a cushion. So just in case things go wrong, they can dust themselves up and pick themselves up.
Dukes, Edgy, Acorn, Cold, Pollo, Sphinx, Booga, Threats, Bryce, and Chubbs are top 5. Of course, the closest in 7th is Kanata and Agers. They only slipped 1 game last round for getting taken out, and that's 2 rounds in a row. This is an absolutely pivotal moment for Kanata that he has to win here. Yes, he gets the refresh, but the fire back here from Sprite, and luck couldn't have been better for Sprite right now as he finds not only a big pot, but something else as well. But it's Bucky, it's Okus, the Disruptors, we call them that, coming in again, messing things up, putting their input on the situation and just completely tossing the dream out the window. Agers and Kanata's day 1 is over. They fall in 7th place loading into game 7, and you have to assume they're gonna slip a little more.
They already, if they're watching the feed, they might have already saw Giants go down.
They know.
So that's why they're closing the distance. They know a player is there as a solo, but another team has the same thing in mind. Bucky getting a little bit ahead of himself, gets the shot that matters most to keep himself alive. But I talked about another team has just joined the racetrack, trying to steal away all the loot and take advantage. But do they know it's Bucky and Okus? But it's Bolts and Thoric. They switched up their drop spots a few times throughout the day and said, why not? Why not go to the racetrack? We're seeing a couple other teams there. Let's join this party.
Yeah, I mean, they're seeing what Sprite and Giants have been doing, the big clash between the two. Little did they know Bucky and company were here, exercising the game plan they're probably thinking of. Hey, let's just get some kinetic blades, let's slide on in there. No, sir, it's not free by any means. And the loot that they managed to pick up, Thoric is actually pretty looted and booted right now inside that bush here. Combat Shotgun is one of the better weapons to open up at distance, so Thoric can for sure put some damage down to really kick things off. Let's see it.
Sense like a 3-2-1 type beat coming out. They just need him to step forward just a little bit longer. Okus is going to be the one leading the charge, getting into the hands of Bolts. Both of them hiding. That first shot's going to fire off. There it goes. Damage going to be traded. Okus takes a bunch. Shield's getting dropped as well. Thoric is getting the high ground taken away by Bucky, who's now firing shots onto Bolts. 2 different 1v1s going down, and that's where you see Okus trying to create space for himself. Goes a layer up and immediately connects blades back to the same box as Bucky.
An excellent play by Thoric here, keeping up the pressure, not allowing Okus to heal for a free or comfortably in front of his teammate Bolts there. Bolts gets tagged, rotating to his duo. And there it is, Bucky and Okus sliding out. Can we just pause for a moment and actually give a huge just hats off and credit to Bucky and Okus in particular. They were in 33rd place at some point. In last game, we were talking about, what are they going to do as these disruptors? They've jumped up to top 15. How did they do it? But they have. They've managed to put themselves in this conversation somehow of a team to, I don't know, maybe have a great day 2 and be a top 10, top 5.
And it just kind of leaves me wondering, where are they even landing to pick up anything? They go for the kinetic blades, but they figure out a way to get some sort of weapon, as Okus actually did get dropped.
That's bad.
Not the best thing is this off-spawn fight we saw so many times. Paper's going to go down, but at least he was able to take down Chubbs before he dropped. And Shadow, literally a sliver of HP and a dream, quickly turned into a nightmare as Bryce takes him down. Even gets the reboot back up. And you can see Clarity Caster, so many teams in the distance trying to go for some free surge.
Chubbs and Bryce looking to set a record as one of the few teams that is contested in this game, but managing to perform at the best possible, having game after game entering into this lobby inside the top 5. I don't think they've actually fallen outside the top 5. It might just be a record setting already. 5 games and maintaining these top 5 positions. Very impressive, just all in all.
And if you look at their points right now, 30 points away from 2nd place. This is doable in a single game if your opponents do go down. The 4 points per elimination plus the placement points. Much harder to catch up with Duke and Edgies, but again, it is definitely possible if your competitors do go down much earlier than you'd hope to kind of close out the day. Hey, maybe a 4-way tie, something like that. I would like something like that simply for the entertainment's sake, but I know everybody else kind of thinking different, especially Duke and Edgy. They want to keep their massive lead intact.
Let's not forget, if Acorn and Cold finish within that top 3, regardless of what, that will open up a spot for a different duo below. So you really do have a chance right now. Acorn and Cold have already proven that, hey, even the best can fall. That game 1 takedown from them sets them off. So for Aiden and Hound, I mean, the chances are here to go ahead, pop off. It's 2-day competition. Love the play from Aiden right now. Really putting the pressure onto Chubbs. This might be the first time we see Chubbs fall extremely early here. Bryce has to step on up, but look, Aiden's just a little bit sharper. He seems to just be hyper aware right now, really in the zone. This is scary.
And no matter if it's a nook, cranny, or crevice, Aiden's gonna take a shot and try to make it go through. Bryce gets knocked, taken down by Hound. And this is where you have to go ahead and push forward, but Aiden, yet again, along with Hound, they take down both Bryce and Chubbs, and that hot streak you were talking about, Monster, went right out the window to close out the day.
2 teams inside the top 5 have now officially been crossed out. Aegis, Kanata, 7th place, gone. Bryce Chubbs, 5th place, you watched it, gone. This is day 1 of North America's FNCS. What's on the line here? Everything, because global champion is, of course, one of the few things that you can be contending for.
Some of those teams, like you said, in the top 7 down. I'm looking at Muzz, Degen, Quanti, Peterbot. I'm looking at Clarity and Casters, even Pamstu and Fatch to make up for lost time. This is an opportunity that was just granted with one of our top competitors going down. So it's up to you to take control and try to close that gap. But for some, closing a gap is going to be easier than others. 31 points is going to be the difference between Acorn Cold and Duke and Edgy.
Perfect jump and timing right here. Boyo in Sphinx. We kept speaking about Mega City has so much to offer. Mega City is a great drop spot. Why do we not see Epic Whale and Reap performing from here? Well, you know what? Maybe it's because only one team can be the kings of the Mega City. And right now, today, it's Boyo, it's Sphinx. They're in the top 3. They've been playing very well. I mean, they're escaping seemingly just fine. They're finding just enough tags. And you would think them being on the southern side, the more passive side, it'd be harder to be consistent. But no, they're doing just fine.
Yeah, especially in the beginning of the season, before Bugha and Threats actually got together, Bugha said, hey, I'm playing with Boyo. This guy is underrated, and I'm ready to take him to the stars. Things might have switched up. Sometimes in Fortnite, things happen with so many superstars in one region, as now it's going to be Boyo, who's probably going to get so many offers. I think Sphinx needs to lock him down if they don't qualify to that global championship, as Endpen and Polarized 108 points so far, and you can kind of see they're used to fighting off spawn. Now that they're not necessarily contested over towards Genjitsu Crossing, they're forced to go elsewhere to find their surge in places that they might not be the most comfortable.
Well, this is what the FNCS is all about, right? Really platforming and giving players a chance to continue to make a name for themselves. Now that we have the entire merging of the North American region, I mean, now more than ever, all eyes are on you. Baka, Pars, Boyo, like you said, these are really their time, truly, to have breakout performances. I say this every year. We always have a few in Fortnite that just have their time and they break out and they just take off. Cold was the latest for North America. I would say Vino for EU in recent times, right? We always have these big breakout names. Who's to say it couldn't be Boyo? He's got the name, he's got the style, he's got the gameplay right now. I'm liking it.
Yep, definitely building himself a reputation if he didn't already have one from these combined regions. You see the vault loot intact. Epic Whale and Reap trying to save as much of the heals as possible, but with the shield keg going down, they know they want to begin to trade shots. Storm Surge hasn't been their friend so far throughout the last couple of games, so they need to figure out a way to manage it before the day is over.
Let's take a look at Muzz and Degen right now, who seems to be under pressure, but there's a duo fighting in front of them. It's Rise and Yamzo. Yeah, that's not an easy battle by any means to pick a fair fight with. So things are going to settle down for now. Yeah, they're recognizing the problems and the dangers that are here. They move first.
Wow. Huge amount of shots. Taking down Muzz and his shields. And I talked about Polarizing Endpen having to go elsewhere to find their surge because they're no longer contested towards Genjitsu Crossing. Well, Marcy gets caught out. User was taken down earlier on in the same game, so the team run on the day has come to an end. So now they can hit the FOD review very, very early.
Yeah, what a better time to catch up right now than with Vivid, who's been keeping a close eye on Bugha and Threats.
And keeping an eye on the top 3 as well. Let's make sure during our last game of the day that all of our top teams are doing well. The biggest change for me is going to be that Dukes and Edgy have not gotten that early elimination, the 2 early eliminations that they are so used to getting. So we'll have to make sure they get some Storm Surge in. Acorn and Cold also looking very, very healthy, making sure that they have enough materials to lead themselves into the end game. And of course, our 3rd place team as well, Polo and Sphinx, set up towards Mega City, which is a great Storm Surge position for them. Make sure we keep a close eye on all of these top 3 teams as we head into the late game of game number 6.
Great job breaking that one down, giving us a lay of the land of our top 3 teams. The biggest question mark, though, is that Duke and Edgy off spawn that they didn't get to fight this time around. They've had such consistent performances throughout the day, and that could be the roadblock in their journey of having to go and find that surge elsewhere, like some of our teams who are forced to kind of switch up their spots.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how it mixes up. And also, you know what? Just do me a favor, Fortnite fam. Is it Polo or is it Pollo? You know, I'm throwing this up. I wanna give this man the utmost credits and respect. Everybody hit me up on any of the socials, the timelines, at Monster Defense. Like, just let me know. All right, Team Fusion, where we at? Who we got here? But let's jump in with Clarity G. Casker, things are starting to heat up. Clarity G already set the single game elim record for day 1 there with 8 eliminations in game 5. That was the last one we just watched. They absolutely popped off. They went from outside the bubble into the conversation. And now Clarity G and Casker just showing us how experienced they are and the type of numbers they can put up. And we know every time we've talked about them, this is a team that Vivid's worked alongside Clarity G for years, right? Loves this dude, good friends with the homies. Like, this is what we love to see. Vets popping up, showing off.
Yeah, and it goes to show that it's not always necessarily how you start on the day, it's how you finish. And that's why I look at a lot of these teams that have been around for a long time to have that experience, to not get antsy, not to get down on yourself. So as important as it is to have the mechanical prowess in Fortnite, you need to have the mental toughness to stay strong when things don't go your way. As Nick and Nyx are going to be one of the first teams to try to claim the top of that Rift Island. But the shots are coming in, they're trying to bring them down to size.
When you want to do something and put something big up, I mean, this is the way to do it. You fight for the pulse rifles. He already has, you know, what looks to be a Volt loadout. Like, he is suited and killing it right now. Look at this. Sphinx up top finds himself another elimination onto Crisp. Well played.
Yeah, a lot of these teams are going to have to leave that Mega City, but the challenge is there.
Talk about big plays, hello?
That's a huge amount of damage that Reek just took. Luckily for him, they did get that vault loot, so it's only going to take a few seconds with that legendary slurp juice to get him back up to shape as Nick and Nyx trying to solidify it, but it is going to be contested. The team that is trying to make up for lost time do a little bit better when it comes to their Storm Surge. This could be the moment shift. Right now, if they're able to win this fight against Nick and Nyx, obviously they get granted that Storm Surge, but they also get the overclocked pulse rifle, something that they could terrorize the lobby with the amount of elevation that they have.
Set out to sea, you hope to catch those tailwinds, and for Epic Whale and Reek, they don't need wind, they turn on the engine, they're putting technology to use. They're getting in. They're going in the direction that they want to, and that's straight on up. What an excellent shot for Epic Whale. If there's anything he can walk away with in day 1 here, it's probably that big shot right there. You talk about it, he's a late game performer. He turns up in the end when the pressure's on and the feeling has to be there. Maybe he's warmed up, maybe he's fired up, maybe it's too late for this day 1, but we do have a grand finals to close out for day 2. 6 more games tomorrow, same time, same place, right here. All the action.
Yeah. Where I speak about that mental toughness. You can't count yourself out just because you didn't have performance that you hoped for on day number 1, because there's 6 more games on the day tomorrow where we'll crown our FNCS Major 2 champion, where we'll find out which 3 teams from North America will get that spot in the Global Championship. And one of them could be Pars and Baka with how they have been performing throughout the day.
Very prestigious opportunities here to make your way straight to the Global Championships. Sphinx and Oyo, of course, one of the few, that big elimination, fresh out of Mega City. The only duo to place in the top 10 in every game today, showcasing just how dangerous they really are out here. Surprisingly, out of nowhere as well, we kept talking about the caliber of the lobby, how much more difficult it is to play on the North American region now.
Just trying to get that extra loot. Kind of already see what augments they're choosing. They kind of lay down the blueprint, which they hope to find success here on the day. Death and Tahi every single game so far, at least the majority. They're able to claim the loot from that Shattered Slabs vault, which is the Mythic Havoc. You know, a lot of different variations of heals. It's just hasn't necessarily been the most fun time of being able to execute on a lot of these different plays, but there's still more than enough time. We talk about it's a 2-day affair.
Let's see it, though. They're just looking around. Pamster and Thatcher also in the conversation of a top 10. Don't put them out just yet. This game goes well for them. They'll be very much in the race for, of course, closing out a global championships position, potentially even the FNCS title itself here for the first time for that duo. Degen and Muzz now looking to set themselves up. We get a wide shot of the map, another western pool here, or eastern pool all the way. Tons of players on that southwest side, still even more so by the Rift Island that popped up. You would think they would have been gone already after securing that loop, but no. It's become the housing location for a ton, and Degen taking advantage of just that. Love
Exactly
this.
know which team was kind of rotating, but you can kind of see a plan of going so far into the zone, but going towards the north. Almost nobody's on that northeastern portion of the zone. So they're trying to go for that least congested side as Duke and Edgy feel like they're under a little bit of pressure. They have to look for HP somewhere as they're only 182 above the damage threshold. They're seeing the implications of the start of their game. Not having that off-spawn fight, not getting those early 2 eliminations have done something to them. It's forced them to kind of hunt around for Surge, in which they weren't necessarily forced to do in the last couple of games on the day, and then you combine that with the fact that they just got a monster of a pull on this next zone.
Well, this is the halfway point of game number 6 of 12 here. But the last one we will be commentating and talking about today. After this, all players will get to hit the drawing board, really figure out what went right, what can we do maybe a little bit better, really refine the details as they start gearing up for day 2. We jump in for the first time with Dom and G Money here. They get a chance to go ahead and show us what they got. One of the first to rotate to the zone. It starts to pull back to where the bulk of the players was. This is going to come as I think, a great surprise for most.
This is where if you're one of those teams that are center zone right now, you're forced with a decision. Do I rotate to the western edge where in theory no teams are at, or I try to hold my position, build that tower that so many other teams are doing, and just try to hold teams, pressure teams in terms of Storm Surge. Even if you're well above, it's just trying to make their job that much harder. As Parse is almost like so down right now, you can see the fishing rod in his inventory. You got to imagine what sort of strategies you could think through with that, because imagine you see a pile of loot, you kind of just go fishing for it.
That is right. Booga down south has to make a move here to get himself to new zone. Waiting for teams to make the move first. You can see the edits out those old bases, giving him enough detail. Taking his time ever so slowly. Not looking to use the metal there. You saw he's already depleted all the way through his wood resources, and now he's down to the heavy mats. It's going to become an uphill battle for him from here on out. Let's jump on into some fights, though. Bacon and Batman Booga have been situated here for quite some time. And that time is really starting to show itself to us. They are 375 below. They have to get in battle, but so do the majority of the lobby. And you can see this is why it's going to be very difficult, as everyone is going to be facing the same exact pressures. Chaos on the field here.
He just catches bolts out, but goes for a slash with the kinetic blade. It cost him everything. Bacon's gonna get dropped. Luckily for Batman Booga, he's one of the most prolific solo players on that former NA West region, especially you combine that with the Mythic Havoc pump. One shot potential through the roof, and he needs to put it to use now. 61 below the damage threshold. Storm Surge ticket in. Shield's gonna get tracked. Shot's gonna be fired straight through. Now Batman Booga's on the back foot while still needing to maintain some position to find Storm Surge, but luckily for him, he does find a shield keg nearby, but that is Epicwell and Reed who are putting down the pressure. But a fight back is coming through. That's Bolt who enters the fray. Tries to go back to back. Thorpe gets knocked. Everybody just in so much chaos right now in close proximity. That's the pulse rifle melting through. And down goes Bolts as well. The former NA West champions get sent back to the lobby.
Can I just say one word? 207. That was crazy. Big hits here from Reed. I should have said one number, but you get the vibes here. Reed's fighting back, keeping the tournament run alive, and you're just really seeing the power of the Rift Island, the legendary loadouts here. Actually, the mythic loadout. Take that a step above. Oh, I'm lying. It's not even legendary. It's literally mythic. It's a cut above the rest. But all right, zone starting to swing its way back here. 22 seconds. It does not stop it. Will continue to move. Reet is just on fire right now. Finds himself another follow-up. Excellent job for him, and he clears out the house here.
These solo impact points are really important for a team like Epic Law and Reet to kind of close out the day. Similar can be said for Edgy, even though they have that comfortable spot, position in first place on the leaderboard. You just want to build yourself that much more of a cushion going into day number 2 with 6 more games. Joining a couple of other teams, trying to focus somebody towards the backside of zone. That's Clarity and Caskers who are under pressure. As Edgy has a different type of pressure, even though it's not damage, it's Storm Surge. Even though he's 16 above, he knows that is absolutely not enough to feel comfortable at this stage of the game.
No, not at all. He is by himself. This is a tough spot to be in when you're leading the competition right now. And you have a chance right now to really, really race away for day 2. It could just slip away. These are those games that we talk about. Just one game, and all of a sudden, everyone's right back on top of you. Like, you didn't have a just comfortable lead moments ago. 55 above the surge now. Scratch that. It's probably going to change soon. Here comes the rotate. Tries to go when he sees others on the move there. It's a well-timed one. Take notes.
And this is where placement points are barely beginning to set in. You saw so much action. Those were just elimination points being granted around the lobby. So now is not the time to go down for all the effort you spent up until this point, especially resources that you might have expended as well. You see Reet on into the distance as a solo, trying to put pressure all around the lobby. You see so many teams forced to really think outside of the box, including Sphinx, who's one of the teams in our top 3, now forced to try to maintain his position, just like so many of other players, as a solo.
Also below the surge, just barely though. Great tag right there. That is huge. And I think he cooked them all the way down. No, the dude had a little bit, a slither more of HP hide and seek there. Manages to get away with his life for a moment. In the feed, Casker and Clarity fall after a great performance just moments ago, but that's okay. They did still manage to put up quite some numbers there. That's going to lock them into top 10. Other teams now have a chance to go ahead and surpass them. So big opportunity lost there. Booga, 7 HP. What is happening to our top 5 teams?
Threats, Edgy, a lot of these teams going down because of Storm Surge, and that's where you saw Booga and Threats get separated. Threats try to go in, pick up any amount of damage that he can, left Booga getting ticked by tick by tick, which left him in such a bad spot HP-wise, which is why he was easy target to take out of the sky. As Byla and Knifer have their position in the clouds, but only 108 above the damage threshold. Right now, the amount of pressure is so important for them, so that way they don't have to fall down and look for that Storm Surge.
That's right. With every team we've tuned into inside the top 5 has already either been taken out or extremely damaged. Acorn and Cold being the only other one that we need that checkup on. Edgy, Duke though, in pressure, on serious time right now. Edgy has to run. Nope, he gets caught as well. And again, just before other big placement thresholds, 21st is not great. Sphinx, though, is changing it up right now. He's going to find himself a great tag. That's going to eliminate a team. He's inside the top 20. He's now really going to start to earn big if he can stay alive.
Yeah, the chunk of those points are in the top 10 for anybody looking to claim them as their own, as Knifer and Byla trying to stay above everybody else. Peterbot and Quanti look to survey the field. They're trying to go a layer above. Ultimate low ground is not where you want to be, especially with the zone going over Brutal Bastion, the different elevations that we're here and going to face, as Yamso is already facing some adversity of his own. 214 above the damage threshold. Storm Surge isn't a worry. It's being a solo, trying to look backside of the zone, catch anybody slipping.
Acorn looks to be a solo as well on the ultimate low. Sphinx, one of our solos inside the top 3, down now as well. Acorn has a chance here to start breaking away as Sphinx has fallen, so it truly has opened up completely here. But no, Cold is actually there to back him up too. I saw Degen and Muzz there as well. This is really a chance now for the teams in the top 10 to take advantage of all of the fallen few who were up at the top, Iamzo included.
And take note of the Mythic Munitions, the tactical pistol that they just picked over on the other side. Yamzo is trying not to go to that ultimate low ground, but doesn't have a ton of builds to continue to build himself up if things get knocked down. He spots that duo on the other side. He wants nothing of it. Quickly rotates to the front side of the zone to try to get any refarm that he can to give himself something to work with. But Cold gets dropped into a box. He gets taken out. Acorn's left by himself, but they have yet to overtake first.
It's not a huge game. It should be enough to definitely close that 20-point gap though, right? So we're going to have an extremely close grand finals as we start edging our way into day 2 for the rest and the remaining of the games. Remember, what's on the line is global championships for some. Acorn and Cold have already done that. They're just playing upset here for other players. Acorn showing us why he is one of the best. You saw it in the interviews. You see it on the timeline. Let's jump in with Muzz, though. Muzz and DJen here, fighting for a top 5 spot.
They already won the first game on the day. They're looking to repeat as Acorn finds another huge elimination, but they're stealing away his loot. He's not able to get anything for the amount of effort that he's putting in at this stage, except for those 3 eliminations, and try to keep themselves ahead, but their run comes to an end. A huge find as Mero and Cooper are trying to make up for lost time. 210 points, 6 eliminations. If they get this VR, they can burst up the leaderboards.
They definitely have a chance to. Quanti is fighting for it as well. This is Elite's most recent pickup. Show us what you got, son. You are now out of material on the low ground. Players in front of him. It's Pars. He's dangerous. Great low ground tax. He plays the right camera peek.
Wow.
Excellent job right there, showing us exactly what he's made of. Cooper, Mero, though, things are going to start to settle. We're inside the top 5. They're one of the few duos that are still standing.
Yeah, there's 3 Toto solos left in the game, Reet being one of them. High ground's going to be owned by Braids and Limit. They found Reet. They know he's a solo, trying to take advantage as he continues to fight back. The amount of damage that Reet just done could be the end. Braids gets dropped into the hands. Cooper and Mero are trying to do what they can and get a legendary Slurp Juice and a Med Miss. They could, in theory, win heal off if nobody else has heals.
Mero's fighting back, looking for any chance. He's trying to get these points. Remember, they're worth a lot. Visuals gets caught out, and just like that, Game 6 is indeed wrapped. Mero and Cooper have now crossed that finish line for the first time today. And we've seen it before. Mero's, he's been at the pinnacle of the stadium before. Well played for him.
That almost makes me ask, is he retired? Is he not retired? Because he's still at the top of his game. He's still one of those competitors that you have to watch out for. And you match him with Cooper, who was former teammates with Ceice a couple seasons ago, and he is lighting up that leaderboard. They're finding eliminations left, right, and center. And already at this stage of the game, they have 9 eliminations, and they broke that double-digit mark.
And he's giving credits to the young Mustache as well. So you really see how much he respects, of course, these other regions. But Mero, man, I'm happy we got to see it from this perspective. Just take a look here. In the end, he puts the damage needed down to get the conversion onto visuals. And just like that, Game 6 will conclude and roll on over to Mero and Cooper. They get a big game. Way to put them back into the conversation.
Yeah, but throughout the course of that game, we saw some of our top competitors go down before the chunk of those placement points have set in. So even though Mero and Cooper picked up a huge victory royale and a huge amount of points, nobody knows what the leaderboard looks like. And there's only 3 people I trust to let us know. Zeke, Kelly, Jenny, take it away.
Big shout outs to Monster D-Face and Jacob PR for casting these first 6 matches of grand finals here in North America. My, oh my, NA has really stepped up. They want to play. This was the story of the top 5 going down, Jenny.
I mean, 19 elims, 265 points. This is crazy. Mero and Cooper came and showed up today. I mean, Kelly, it's just wild, their performance.
I mean, we know Mero as the champion from NA, and to see him do it again with Cooper, who absolutely blew out a lot of the competition. 6 eliminations for both of those players there, meaning 12 eliminations total in just a single game. It was absolutely incredible. Cooper, I really love the fact that he was using the Twin Mat SMG. I feel like a lot of players forget that that gun exists. So obviously, you're going to want the Red Eye for those long-range shots, and then you have the Havoc Pump, which is an incredible face-to-face 50-50 weapon to use. But the Twin Mag SMG does incredible amounts of damage. In fact, it has a higher DPS than the Pulse Rifle itself. So I love the fact that we saw him use it. I think we actually saw a few other players using it as well in the end game.
Yeah, it feels like maybe more players are looking to utilize the augments that will give you that pistol in the inventory, right? Mythic Munitions being one of them as well. But we got to take a look at the standings. We got to find out how things are going. Remember, these are just the first 6 matches. Tomorrow we'll be back for the last 6. But look at your top 3. They refuse to move. They've decided we will hold down these spots, and we will not let anybody tell us otherwise. Duke, edgy right now, but as I kind of talked about going into this game, Acorn and Cold, they're waiting for that opportunity to strike. And this was that opportunity for them. Now only behind a single point, Kelly.
A 1 point difference between first and second place going into day number 2 is absolutely wild. But I think even more so what we're looking at the leaderboard right here, what it showcases, because we saw Duke and Edgy, they didn't get those early eliminations just like Vivid was telling us, and that kind of had a rougher situation for them towards the mid and late game.
Yeah.
But even with Duke's being down here by Zone 8, that still didn't put too much of a downside onto Edgy's play right here. And they're still able to hold into that first place spot, even though they went down, what, in 22nd there? And they're still able to hold first? I mean, that is why you want the consistency. That's why you want to be able to play. A lot of these teams are kind of hot and cold. They'll get a high point game and they'll get a low point game. But that's showcasing why consistency is so important, because when you do go down early, like what we just saw from Dukes and Edgy, they're still able to hold that first place spot.
None of us predicted this, and I kind of love that they switched it up on us. And honestly, going into day 2, we had a lot of, like, you know, our top teams go down early on, so it gave room for a lot of these teams to move up in the ranks. So we'll see if that continues to happen into the games tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure. Acorn and Cold, another duo. Remember, they looked for that opportunity to strike, and this was that game. Utilizing literally every little thing. They thought, look, with Duke, with Edgy gone, we just have to do everything we can. Now, unfortunately, this game, they were in shambles. They didn't really have much to work with, but they did what they needed to do, and it was to close that gap.
And I love what Acorn's doing here. You can see that he's staying just on the edge of the backside of zone, because when players are doing a good job in the low ground, they'll try and stay ahead of the zone so they can kind of get a bit more visibility where everyone else is. But if you're a solo player, you don't have heals, just like that player was Acorn, you want to stay all the way in the back. Yes, it is a little bit risky because you're potentially taking some storm damage, especially when people build around you, but it is a safer play than staying at the front of zone.
And Acorn and Cold, this duo is a low ground duo. They are very comfortable there, so if one ends up being a solo, they're comfortable finishing that out. And again, you can just see Acorn getting eliminations, being that solo. The reaction time of Acorn still blows my mind. When I watch back clips, I'm like, how? Literally, how did you do that? I love the performance we've seen from them today.
Yeah, and I do really quickly want to highlight the team here in 5th. Remember, Cooper and Miro, they just got that victory out with 12 eliminations. And again, that's because your top 5 had fallen in that game. That's what this lobby is looking to do. Hey, the top sharks in the water, they are no longer part of this lobby. We need to act. We need to act now. Take a look. 9 placements now looking to strike top 5. If tomorrow they could find themselves in that top 3 because of that one game, they're going to be feeling real good.
And we obviously are looking towards the top 3. Those are the 3 teams that are going to automatically make their way into the international competition. See right now, first and second place are pretty much far ahead of the pack after day number 1. But from 3rd all the way down to 9th place, it is only a 40-point difference there. And that can easily be made up in a single game. And we've already seen top teams be dropped right from the early start. So a lot of possibility going into day number 2 here for a lot of these teams to claim that 3rd place spot.
Yeah, too. And I think what's really interesting about going into day 2 in this circumstance is that you have teams that we've talked about are going to perform really well, but have they shown their top tier performance yet? And I think that I really do think that we're going to see some of these teams step up to the plate and make a show happen for us, because you have to. This is your chance to make it to global championships, and that's what everyone's mind's on. It's like, I have to make it to global championships, and they're going to make it happen one way or another.
And we've seen it done in the past. I believe it was Chapter 3. We saw a team that was in 9th place after day number 1, and they were able to claim the 1st place spot after day number 2. Now, the point differentials was a little bit smaller than what we're seeing right now between 1st and 9th place, but obviously a lot can happen in day number 2, and you've heard a lot of the casters and us talking about it. Some of these teams kind of unlock on day number 2, and especially being able to do VOD reviewing and VOD reviewing of day 1, which I know a lot of these teams are going to be doing. It's going to be interesting to see how these teams are going to shake it up tomorrow.
They're not sleeping tonight. They are hitting the VODs, they're studying it up, and they're going to be prepared for tomorrow.
Yeah, I love that, right? Just kind of taking a step back. Whatever happened, we play it out, right? We take a step back, we VOD review, say, what do we need to shore up for tomorrow? Then we just go execute on that, right?
Yeah.
Tomorrow, we could very well see a completely different set of duos. Though their names might be the same, they've now studied up, and they're ready to bring it. Now, when are we back? Tomorrow, of course. Let's take a look at our broadcast schedule. You know we'll be back here tomorrow, but I want to remind you, don't forget, EU is also happening as well. And if you think that 4 out of 6 games going over to Ceice and Veno is not historic, please make sure you make a little bit of time to watch EU. But also, don't forget, we'll be here, same great time, same great place. Why don't we meet up with our incredible casters, of course, Jacob PR, Monster D-Face. Guys, NA was just something else. But I kind of found myself looking forward to tomorrow. And I'm telling you, I feel like tomorrow's just going to be even crazier.
We have a special situation unfolding right now. For the first time in, I don't know how many seasons, that top 3 coming out of day 1 did not move. Like, we have this same exact locked in place. You saw the 0 next to them. There was no movement, but the story did change, in fact, because they're all closer, much closer than we've seen any other point in the day today. So we are going to have a great grand finals closeout tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow's going to be bananas. B-A-N-A-S. I'm going to tell you that. That one is going to be absolutely insane. And honestly, I got to give a huge shout out to both Poyo, Baka, and Pars. You know, a lot of people would count that Western region out, and they have showed up tenfold.
Absolutely. What do you guys feel like tomorrow? What is it that you're hoping to see out of the competition and of course, the players?
I'm going to kick things off. I want to see Kanat and Agers, see if they can turn things around. Chubbs and Bryce had a big upset, so our contested teams, they've been winning like big moments after winning those drop spots, but the teams that are fighting them not quite having the same conversions. So either mix it up, do something new. Bolton Thorax did that just now. I want to see adjustments. Hopefully we can see it because we have a great top 10 right now.
I want to see Duke and Edgy. Like, you talk about a team that wants to win the big one. Duke has been trying season after season. Edgy, second place. How many times on multiple different regions? I think this could be their season.
I said this multiple times today on this broadcast, but I want Threats to get an FNCS championship title. I really believe he can do it. We've shown on the stats that he has what it takes. The performance that he's given today was incredible. Teamed up with Booga. They can do it. I want to see him step up tomorrow.
I mean, you were talking about an NA West team out of Polo and Spinks. We got to see it just for a moment, but re-unlocking in that final game of the day, grabbing an incredible amount of eliminations as a solo player. But I want to see that convert into the Victory Royale.
Absolutely. Well, we've had a Victory Royale here because we've got to hang out with all of you. Of course, don't forget, tomorrow we crown not only FNCS champions, but we will know 3 more duos representing NA in the Global Championships. As always, don't forget tomorrow's EU, and we'll see you a little bit later on for more action from the FNCS. We love you. Keep yourself safe, and we'll see you on that battle bus.
Beep, beep.
Let's go.